Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Downtime with Downstar, episode 157. And today we're here with my boy Andre Sawyers from Who Shot Ya?
Word.
Dre, what's up, bro?
Doing good. Just another day in quarantine.
Man, it's hard times right now, but it's actually kind of dope because we get to sit with people that we wouldn't have a chance to, whether at like race events or something like that, you know. So now that all podcasting people are either not doing them or they're doing Zoom, Skype kind of things, I'm down with it, bro, because it gives me chances to talk to guests that we really wouldn't be able to unless it worked out logistically. Like yourself, man. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast since, it was before HDAY last year in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It
was around then. It was like one of those things where I just was hoping that we would have got to do it this HDAY.
Yeah.
But obviously, that didn't happen. And then the last HDAY, we just had so many things going on between just the times we were staying back at the track, and then people were getting all rowdy and stuff like that, and it just made us logistically it wouldn't work. So I think I'm glad it finally worked out to being like what it is now.
Hell yeah, dude. So before we get any further, can you just give people a quick breakdown of who you are and what you do?
Andre Sawyers, Dre, as I'm known by, pretty much got into doing the photography thing quite a while back. But what we do is we just make content for social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and essentially we're just hobbyists that are just taking it to a recognizable level, as opposed to just keeping everything in our personal stash, which is how we actually used to do it. So it's Who Shot Ya is between me and Merzat. Merzat, if everybody follows our page, I Shoot You, most people will relate that as Merzat, because that's his page originally. And how it came to be is I've known him probably like 11 years or something like that. And when we first started out, we just same thing. We're both hobbyists. I had a Facebook photography page, and we used to both use it for shared media because I had a good, decent enough following. Yeah. So I would have him post on the page, whenever I needed content and, whatever. So we'd share the page essentially. Fast forward to current day, the I Shoot You page was his page, which it didn't really have that big of a following. Yeah. My personal page actually had a bigger following. And we were posting, like, initially when we started doing it, like, decided to, like, jump in again. We were doing it where we were both posting from our pages individually. We're like, man, this is stupid. Like, let's just give up a page. Either you give up your personal page or I give up my personal page. And seeing that his page was less of a following or a less popular page, we decided to start with that one because it's a more clean slate.
Yeah.
So we decided that he was going to make his personal page, and then we used the I Shoot You page as the Who Shot Ya page.
Gotcha.
And the name Who Shot Ya, it's a wild thing because like we're just making videos, and I was just like, yo, it was like a conversation me and him were having. We're like the drop of like Biggie saying "Who shot ya? Separate the weak from the ops." So like that, I was like, yo, it would be dope if we could enter like or have that be like the entrance for all of our videos or like whenever we make videos. And he was like, all right, so we did it, and that we didn't even come up with a name at that point. That was just like what we decided to do as a drop.
Okay.
And then I'm like, well, as a brand, we can't use I Shoot You because that's kind of offensive.
Yeah.
But so like Who Shot Ya, and it can refer to both things. Like we're both into guns, we're both into photography. So the Who Shot Ya thing kind of just came into play from all of that. Which was funny. I have actually pictures of like I'm sending him, like I was at work and I was like making on Post-its like what the logo should be like. So I'm like trying to doodle it because I can't draw for shit.
Yeah.
I'm like drawing like what I think the logo should look like. He's sending me pictures back and forth. So we have like a little log of like where the logo started from,
Yeah.
and like what it eventually came to be, and we settled on it. And so far it's been decent. People like the following. Well, I mean, it's not the biggest thing, but we went from I think the page was like 600 followers in, which was his organic followers from like August of 2018 is like when we started doing it, or we decided to do all this, and now we're at about 11,000 followers.
Oh, nice.
So it's been growing solid. We kind of haven't been pushing too crazy on it lately, but for the most part, because we don't have much for content, because we have a lot of stuff, but the stuff that we have is just the same events, you know what I mean? So you see the same cars and stuff like that. So we don't really go into like the show scene stuff. We try to focus on race cars.
Yeah.
And our demographic shows that as well.
Yeah.
Like if we post up like we go to like at HDAY, for example, we go into the car show, we see a dope car in the car show, whatever, take a picture of it, and post that up. The contact that we get on that versus like posting a race car doing a burnout or whatever like that is significantly different. You know what I mean? So it's just it's a good and a bad. Our demographic calls for the race car stuff, so that's basically what we focus on.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like a lot of the racers, they're just one track minded, and even the fans of it, they're one track minded. If the car's not fast, they don't give a shit about it. But with that kind of stuff, it definitely does put you in a sort of box where you can't grow outside of it, because people just know you as that certain thing, in the race community.
Yeah, and then it's not even for us. It's not even just a race community. It's the fact it's like Hondas in general. Like if it's not a Honda, nobody wants to hear about it, dude. Like I'll post up some badass 6-second cars and like shit gets like 80 likes. It's like, come on, bro.
Yeah. No, the demographic stuff is crazy, man. And when I started off Downstar, it was geared towards the Honda community, but I never wanted to put myself in a box to be just in the Honda community, or even just doing hardware. I was talking to my wife. She was here helping me at the shop earlier, and we're just talking. And I was like, we were just talking about the spikes, and we were known as the company that does the spikes for so long, and it bothered me for the longest, because I'm like, dude, we do 250 plus other products. We do so much more, but we're just recognized over this one product, So.
And what's funny about that is like when I first started hearing about Downstar, like that was the thing. It's like, it's a spike lug nuts, and I'm like, man, come on, bro. Like that's, and it took me a while to come around on everything else, honestly. With the podcast was kind of like, all right, this is an actual person, you know what I'm saying? Not like it gave you a personality, and then I don't know if that made the stuff that you sell more appealing, but like for the most part, it like made me look more into the brand after like the podcast thing, because that was what I level with, because I'm not a show guy by any means. Like none of my cars are pretty. Like I'm all about just going fast and that's it. You know what I mean? So when I started seeing like the stuff and then I'm like, all right, maybe it's not all. Then I didn't see any spike stuff. I'm like, okay, it's not just spike shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's really good stuff. Like all things considered, like it doesn't surprise me that the company or your company is where it is today.
Thank you.
Because you kind of just stuck with it regardless of like those stigmas, Yeah. And that's key.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And we've been having to deal with that ever since the beginning, since we started. People telling us Home Depot bolts or whatever, and then
they're far from it.
And just the Spike Company, and then just so many other things that we had to deal with. But how I always felt was everybody that was opposing the brand, they just weren't aware of liking it. So you're gonna like it, So if you don't like the hardware part of it, you're gonna like something about it. And if you don't like the company right now, that says more about you than it says more about us, because it's not like we're not just pigeonholed in one certain demographic of things. We're spread out to so many other avenues. And
because like even like the merch drops are fucking fire too. You know what I mean? Like I dig, like I really dig. Like I don't know if it's just me, or are your hats like shorter, like the style that you have?
Yeah, they're more of a style that I like the hats to be, because I always wear hats. There's probably out of the year I probably don't wear a hat maybe 10 days or so. Yeah. And it's just that I forget it, or it doesn't match with my outfit or what have you, but I'm always wearing hats. So a hat is a big thing to me. Like the ones that we designed, I designed every single part in it, how I wanted it to look, the certain colors and things like that, because that's just what I'm into,
For sure, because it fits different. Like when I first got it, and I'm like, this thing, like feels like way different. Like I'm not a hat guy myself. Like I mostly is like beanies or stuff like that. And the only times I really wear beanies is like during the winter, or like when I need a haircut, like right now. Time, but like it like I put it on. It's total. Like I have a bunch of hats now just from the racing stuff, because I've gotten into that thing where now obviously like I'm supporting brands that support me. And so I, like right here I got Aki's brand, keep going, and got Four Piston shirt on. You know what I mean? So like there's a bunch of merch that I got into. And some of your stuff, I just picked up a shirt and
thank you,
had the hat like last year, or I think I got for Christmas or something like that. But it's there's gonna be something that if somebody comes across your brand that they're gonna be into. If not the hardware, it's the merch. If not the merch, fucking skateboard shit, like whatever,
Yeah, and it's just I like to do everything that I'm doing. All the things that we're doing is not about making money or anything like that. It's just about passion, And even like you said, you found out, or you started paying attention more because of the podcast. And the podcast definitely gives me an outlet to explain who we are, what we do, further than, a post on Instagram, or even hearsay from somebody else saying something about us. If you want to know who we are, we have 157 episodes of podcasts that are like over an hour and a half each. There's so much content out there.
Oh yeah.
And it definitely just gives you a different way to look at me or the brand. And just like you support us, I support people the same way. If I see somebody and they have a good podcast or a good YouTube channel, or they're just doing something and I want to support them, I'll buy a t-shirt or a hat or something just to show support.
For sure.
So let's go ahead and talk about a little earlier in the times before we get to cars, dude. Where were you born at? What's your early life like?
So I was born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay.
And pretty much I wasn't like, we weren't poor. I wouldn't say we were poor, but like we weren't rich either. So like the status for when you're growing up there, it's kind of like if you live in a house where like your mom or your dad had a car, you kind of like were considered to have money. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
Because most everyone takes public transportation. So for the most part, when I grew up, it was always like we had public transportation. My stepdad had a car, so I grew up with my mom and my stepdad.
Okay.
My dad lived in the United States. Like he pretty much like moved here like directly after I was born.
Okay.
So, and it wasn't like, I don't know how you would put it, but I never grew up with him, so I don't know, like he didn't raise me. Like I was raised by my mom and my stepdad.
Yeah.
I didn't come here till I was like 13. So growing up, I got into cars because it was something that my mom introduced me to.
Oh wow.
Yeah. My stepdad was into cars too, but he wasn't a car guy. Mm-hmm. Like he was just into like, like some people like Mercedes Benzes because they look fancy or whatever. Like that's my stepdad. Like he just likes cars that looked the part or went fast or whatever. Like that's what he was into. But my mom, She would make sure that we went to like we have a local racetrack, Dover Raceway. They have events like on Easter, Christmas, like any type of holiday, Independence Day. And so she would like make sure that we would go to those events like all the time, and it's something I look forward to as a kid.
Nice.
And you get an affinity for all different sorts of things. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but like in Jamaica, like all we have is JDM. So we don't get like if you see a U.S. car there, it's because it got imported, and then we look at it the same way how in America people look at like a JDM car. You know, it's like, oh shit, like that Mustang is crazy. Like, but so I grew up like. I can't remember like the smallest memories or the fondest memories of me being a kid and like sitting on a wall watching cars go by, and I would just name them. Like, all right, first it would be like the brand, you know, like, all right, that's a Toyota, that's a Nissan, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Then it got into like, all right, that's a Toyota Starlet, that's a Toyota Crown, that's a Toyota Cressida, like whatever it is. And that was just a thing. Like from I was that young, like I was just became obsessed with cars. You know, toy cars, you know, having magazines, stuff like that. Like whenever like I had, people would come and visit the States, and like they would bring back magazines like Motor Trend or like, you know, one of those magazines from early back in the day. And it's just like, I would just obsess over it.
Yeah.
And so I, and then got into like, Super NES days, like, playing Mario Kart, Top Gear, all, little car games like that, and then N64, and just it goes on, and it just like I'm a nerd about like cars,
Really?
What I mean? So it's like I don't get into it too much anymore because adult life and like just don't focus on everything. Like I don't put my eggs in one basket, but like I still know a fair amount. Like I refuse to like be shown up by somebody about a vehicle, you know what I mean? Like where I don't want to like I would never argue with somebody about a car if I don't know anything about it. So if you see me engage in a conversation about it, it's probably because I know something about it.
Yeah.
So, like people see me with imports all the time and they think, might have the impression that I only know imports, but I know quite a bit about domestics too, you know what I mean? So it's like, and even exotics, like I used to hate Ferraris.
Yeah.
And I got into like hate Ferraris, hate Lamborghinis because they were just so expensive. Like why the hell does a car cost the same as a house? And then I started realizing the details. You know what I mean? You go into like the small details, like the materials that things are made of, like what it takes to build that motor, or like things like that.
Yeah.
And you kind of just absorb that and you nerd out on it a little bit. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but you geek out on it.
Yeah.
And so growing up as a kid, like I obsessed over things like that all the time. I read a lot, I always wanted to have a Lancer Evolution 5 because that was like the car. I think let's see. So I was like 10 when the Lancer Evolution 5 came out when I was 10, and it's like high school there is weird because we start high school in the 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So you're super young, I mean, I was 11 or I was like 11 when I started high school. You know what I mean?
So it's like 6 years, high school.
It's 7th to 11th grade, and then you can do 2 years of 12th grade. Like I call it a 12A and 12B.
Gotcha.
So, but you can graduate as in like go to college after 11th grade.
Gotcha.
And just the structure of school is different. How you take subjects is different. Discipline's different. Like that's the craziest thing. When you're coming from like where I'm coming from, discipline. It's like it's so underrated in the United States. Like kids here are so unruly. Like when it comes to like education.
Yeah.
I remember I used to get like when I first moved here. I came here when I was 13.
Okay.
And so it was beginning of 10th grade, and kids like would make fun of me because I would be polite to the teacher. You know what
really?
I mean? Yeah, it was the weirdest fucking thing. But like, I didn't. They would like talk shit. They wouldn't like. I never got bullied. Like that was one thing I wished that would happen, but it never happened. Because like I had this, I don't know, I had this chip on my shoulder where I was like, I would never ever get bullied, and sure enough, I never did.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's good shit.
It's one of the, it's weird. Like I mean, when I was living in Jamaica, I got into stuff. Because that's just down there, like life is just so much. Like people talk about it, but it's the real deal, man. Like you see some shit that you don't want to see, and like to put it to you this way, how insensitive it is. So, are you like up on like what the murder rate is in like Chicago?
No, not really. I just know it's bad from Chief Keef, but that's it.
Yeah, so it's pretty bad. But like think about the fact that like a place like Jamaica that is like about the size of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was there, the murder rates were like 1,000, 1,100 a year.
Wow.
That's just murder. That's not like, you know what I'm saying? That's just one statistic.
So it's just like, a few a day.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's fucking wild. Like when there's times, and when you go like where I went to school at, was not necessarily the best place either. Mm-hmm. Like there's places that literally had curfews. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't be walking around at certain times because things are gonna happen. You know what I mean? You couldn't drive. Like dudes would literally like pull you out of your fucking car. You know what I'm saying? No. Like it's wild. Like I might be talking it up a little bit for some people, but the reality of it is I've been in situations like with my stepdad where like we had to like literally run. You know what I'm saying? Like drive the shit out of the car, like Grand Theft Auto escape type shit. Yeah, it's wild. But
is it like Belly?
Yeah, very close. Like Belly was a pretty accurate movie.
So could you understand what that dude was saying?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Really?
Don't let this fool you. Like I speak patois. Like
get into it, dog. Get it.
It's weird. It's one of those weird things. Like if somebody's not speaking to me, in the dialect, and I don't like doing it. You know what I mean? But like 100%. Like if I'm talking to my dad or my grandma or like local friends, you know what I'm saying? Like that's all good. And this actually, the funniest part about this is. Like it took me a while to like lose my accent.
Yeah.
And I thank hip hop for that. Because, dude, like when I first moved here, like I said, like I came here when I was 13.
Yeah. And
language is weird. Like when you speak only one language, you can't appreciate. I don't think you can appreciate language.
Yeah.
If you only speak or only relate to one type of language, like you can't appreciate the complexity of it. Because when you think about like how you say things, like to me, how I'm saying or how I'm speaking right now, if I'm thinking about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it is exactly how it's always sounded in my head.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? It never sounds any different. This is exactly whether I'm speaking patois or I'm speaking plain English, it sounds the same exact way, like how you think about it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So like when I came here, I was speaking like this, and kids were like looking at me like, "What are you saying?" I'm like, I'm like, and then I have to slow it down, like, I'm looking for this class right here, and they're like, "Oh, like, dude, your accent is so strong." I'm like, really? Like, it's not that crazy, you know?
Yeah.
But over time, it got much better. Big part of like what I used to do was just have songs. I would print the lyrics out for songs
uh-huh.
and listen to it and like put it on like just learn songs. You know what I'm saying? Like practice the words and like how they would say stuff, and like slangs was like a big thing for me. Like I used to use slangs in the most like outrageous ways. Like like when like a parent tries to be hip, you know what I mean? And they start using your slang like out of context.
Yeah.
That was like me for like the first like 2 years of me being but yeah, after a while, like you just listen to enough, rap music, R&B music, just anything with that has the culture embedded in it. And sure enough, like I've started like getting better at it. I'd have to speak slow for a bit.
Yeah.
But then after a while, I think by the time I graduated high school, like I was good. Like, you don't really hear it. Nowadays, like, it's second nature. Like, I don't think about it. Like, I automatically speak like this, even if I'm speaking to a Jamaican person.
Yeah.
Like, I automatically start like this, which was cool at Best Buy because when you're having Jamaican customers and like they're probably like talking shit, like if you give them a price, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like, yo, I understand that, you know. And they're like, oh shit. Yeah,
damn, I forgot you worked at Best Buy, dude.
Yeah. So that was crazy. Like when I found out that you worked at Best Buy, I'm like, and it's the same time period too, the exact fucking same time period.
No way.
Like, you started in 05, right?
Yeah, October 05.
I started October of 06.
No shit.
And I stopped November of 2012 is when I left there.
Wow, that's almost the same. You're right, because it was April 2012 when I quit.
Yeah. So and for me, like, Best Buy was a great first job. Yeah. Honestly, I never worked anywhere. Can't say like I've worked a ton of places. Like, it's been Best Buy and a couple of other places.
Yeah.
And then what I'm doing now, but like, for the most part, like it taught me a lot with business, you know what I'm saying, or even interacting with people. Like, I'm a super introverted person, which also plays back into like our page, where I don't want to be the face of the page. Like, Merzette's the face of the page, you know what I mean? Like, so like and sometimes I get a little tired about it because I'm like, yo, it's my page too. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like, because people see him and oh yeah, you're the ice shooter guy, and I'm like, yeah, me too, man. That's me too. Well, like, but you get into so many different people when you work there. Yeah. You see so many different personalities. You deal with people that have money. You deal with people that are broke. And you get to have conversations with people based on like how they carry themselves, and it was a good skill set to have for sure. Yeah, I think
I definitely feel the same way, man. Working at Best Buy was like my college that I went to. Mm-hmm. Even as far as like partying in the dorms, dude. When we would get off, we would all party together. We would go to somebody's house, or we would always be together, man.
100%. We live the same lives. We just live on different coasts, bro. Like, as far as like that goes, yo, we were partying 4 or 5 nights a week, dude. Like, there's like times where I would keep just like a spare shirt in my car, or like whatever, or like I'd have to go across the street to the mall to go buy a set of pants or a belt or whatever, because like shit's fucked up from the night before and I didn't make it home. Like, man, like, going to work all hungover, like having to go chill out in the fucking audio room real quick, like, just crazy,
So you did car audio?
No, I did a home theater for the most part.
It was just sales or install?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sales.
Gotcha.
Well, I did. So when I got hired as home theater. Mm-hmm. And my store was actually like the time when I got hired, the store was under construction to be a Magnolia store.
Got you.
And I guess I just was pretty good at sales. Uh-huh. That they were just like within like 6 months of the Magnolia store being open, a position opened up and they asked me if I wanted it.
Damn, that's dope.
So I went from like making like $9 an hour to like making like $17 an hour, like in like no time. Like I would say it's probably in the span of like a year and a half, maybe 2 years of working.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn, that's really good.
And then it like the company had to go through like a restructure, I think in like 2010 or 2009, something like that. So they restructured and my position got cut. So they were like, well, we can't do it. I think it was 2009. And they're like, well, we can't keep paying you the way we're paying you because your position doesn't exist anymore. I think I was like a Pro 4 or something like that. So like I was able to do consultations and, go out to customers' house and do stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But they cut the position and was like, oh, well, you'll still dress up, like you'll still come to work in like your suit and tie and like whatever, but we're going to pay you like $13.50 an hour. And I'm like, dog, I'm not going to be working in the same position. Like,
yeah,
I'm about to work for like $4 less an hour. Like, there's no chance. So then I was like, you know what? Like I'll still work for the company, but I want to switch departments. Like I don't want to do home theater anymore.
Yeah.
So then I switched to DI.
Okay.
And started doing like cameras and stuff like that, which I wasn't even into cameras at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't even into photography.
Yeah.
Like nothing. Like so, how I got into photography was around the time I was working in DI. I got the EP3, which that was a whole another mess. That's a whole story. But
yeah,
I got the EP3 and doing a bunch of stupid shit to it, even though I told myself I shouldn't. You know, just like show stuff. Like got a lip for it, got rims. You know, painting my shift knob, doing all sorts of dumb shit.
Yeah.
And I went to a car show, and one of my buddies took a picture of my car, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's crazy!" Like I didn't know the car could look that good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm used to just taking cell phone pictures and stuff, and so I took a picture. Yeah, he took the picture of the car, and I was like, "Man, I definitely I have to get into this." So my buddy Doug was the one that took the picture of my car, and I was like, "Bro, like I really have to like get into doing this." And especially that I worked in the department.
Yeah,
yeah. So then I'd use my time at work. You know, the same thing, like, you know, while you're on the clock, just working on your shit. You know what I mean? So like, I'd take the camera out the cage and I'd like practice. You know, learning the lingo, knowing what things are, like, you know, what's an f-stop, what does your ISO do? You know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff, and essentially just taught myself like about cameras. And at the same time, I was able to teach other people while I was selling them.
Yeah.
Best Buy gives you like all those little modules that you would learn and how to teach people about it, because you have to know about it to sell it. You know what I mean? And then again, that's another department I really excelled in. You know what I'm saying? Like where I started just going way up and above, and they're like, "Oh, you know, well, we might want you to be a supervisor in this," and I'm like, "All right, here we go again." You know, but that didn't end up happening, obviously, because I'd probably still be there. But
yeah, I always think back at that, dude. If this Downstar shit didn't pop, I don't know what I would be doing after that. Yeah, you know.
Well, I'm glad it popped then.
Yeah. No, me too, man. Because I was already maxed out where I was at. I was the the senior at the position, and if I wanted to get any higher position, I would have to leave car audio. Like, dude, I'm not gonna do that shit. I had it made, bro. The only time we would see anybody from the inside is when they would just let us into the bay, and that's it. For the whole entire day, it would just be our business.
Yeah, cause was your base separated?
Yeah,
from
yeah, it was.
Yeah, ours was. We were like in a strip. Our store was like in a strip mall almost.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, and it was huge. I wouldn't say strip mall makes it seem like it's small. Like it's this big ass fucking like plaza.
Yeah.
And like the store was on one end of the plaza, and then the install bay was on the back side of a Starbucks, like on the other side of it. Yeah. So like the dudes were just like, you know, they would just chill back there. And I'm good friends to this day with a bunch of the guys that were in the install bay when I used to work there. So
yeah, I'll still go by Best Buy sometimes and just bullshit. I have one buddy that still works there. I'll just go hang out. And dude, there's so much stuff that we did there that's still up. There's like Downstar stickers everywhere, and like tagging and stuff.
It's wild when I go back there and I still see the same people that are still there, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how are you still here? You know what I mean? Like, dude. And it's not to talk down on it, because like it's not like, you know, if you're in a spot where you're making $22 an hour, it's like you're cool.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like the only thing that sucks is like the up and down the up and down schedules, and like not having every weekend off and shit like that. You know what I mean? Other than that, like the bread was fine, and like the people were okay. Like it was not a toxic work environment at all. Like I liked it.
Yeah, no, I loved it, dude. It taught me so much about business. And it was, I didn't even know I was learning, but I was learning. And then I took that information and just applied it to my own business. And I really think that that's what helped it pop in the beginning, just the way that I dealt with things. Because if you think about it, a lot of people that have brands in the automotive community, they went from working on cars to, okay, well, maybe I could sell parts, and now they sell parts. But in between that, they don't have any traditional skills of how to sell, how to talk to people, and how to make people feel comfortable, you know? So I've spoken to so many people that I know that's how they started. And it's like, dude, if you were able to change your attitude just a little bit, your company would be way bigger than it is now.
Yeah, 100%. You see that all the time. Like, the wildest thing, like, is I see, like, with it, like, I don't have. It's not like I have like a business front or a storefront to be like speaking from experience with that stuff, but like I've worked for enough places that are small enough for me to get a grasp of like how things work.
Yeah.
To understand like, all right, maybe if you did this or maybe if you applied this, it would make things that much better in that way. Like, perfect example. Like, I just bought Hybrid Racing just came out with those detent springs.
Yeah, for the trans, for the shifter.
Yeah,
right?
for the trans, yeah. And like, so I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, whatever. I'm in the process of building my EP3 over again, and so I was like, let me just give this a shot. Like, it's not something I need, but I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, they're cheap enough. Like, whatever. Like, let me just pick up a set. I'll pick up a set for the EP3, and I'll get a set for the daily, and whatever. So I bought 2 sets of them, and fucking FedEx like says that they dropped it off at the house literally like 30 minutes before I got home, and I'm like, I didn't even pay any attention. I'm like, I knew they were supposed to come that week, but like I'm looking around and I'm like, where the fuck are these things? So I checked the tracking and it says it's been delivered. So I'm like, I go outside, I'm like looking on my porch like, all right, there's nothing out here, you know what I'm saying, nothing in the mailbox. So I email Hybrid, and I'm like, oh, this what happened, whatever. FedEx said they left it. It's not there. They're like, so then Hybrid hits me back like, oh, you should check with FedEx and whatever. I'm like, dog, here we fucking go. Like, I don't want to fucking deal with FedEx about this because they're just gonna give you the runaround. I don't know if you've had to deal with FedEx, but they're so bad about like contact, like human contact is like impossible when you're dealing with them. So I said, kind of just in a defeatist way, like to the guy at Hybrid, I'm like, man, I guess I'm just beat for this shit. Like, whatever, it's $30-something. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. Like, I'll just eat it. And so then the guy emails me back and is like, what does that mean? Like, here, like, whatever. And he's like, starts talking to me about. I'm like, and immediately I realized like one thing, like that is customer service.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like me saying to him, I guess I'm just beat for this shit. You know what I'm saying? Then even though he didn't understand like what I was saying, he was just kind of just reaching back out to say like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? I'm like, so I got a second wind. I'm like, well, I've tried with FedEx before and I can't get in contact with them, whatever. And he's like, what was the transaction? And so I gave him the PayPal transaction or whatever, which I couldn't find it. Like, it was hard as well because I paid with like my PayPal card or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't even checking in my PayPal. I was looking at my bank account to see like where it was. And it came off of my credit card. I'm like, because my PayPal automatically takes it. Like, whenever I pay for something, it automatically takes it off my PayPal credit instead of my bank account.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I ended up finding it, and then I sent it to the guy, and I didn't hear from him. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then 2 days later, he hits me back, and he's like, hey, man, got a new set coming out to you. FedEx, this and that, whatever you're going to have to sign for or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I can't thank you enough. It's such a small thing, but it made me so grateful that he took the time to like do that. And, I say all of that to say this. It's like, it's some of the smallest details in customer service that will separate businesses.
Yeah.
Like there's just certain things that you do to just follow up with your customers and just to make them feel comfortable. Like, no matter how shit the situation is, like how big it is, like if you make the customer comfortable with you, like you have a customer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's now if I'm looking for, a shift cable or like whatever, Hybrid's probably going to be the first place I go to. You know what I mean? But that was just like one of those things like where I'm like, I completely like say that customer service is like 100% like where the battle is, like what separates everybody when it comes to business.
Yeah, no, definitely, dude. And that's one thing that we learned from Best Buy. I would do everything in my power to not have to call a manager. If they said, well, let me talk to a manager, say, well, let me help you out, dude. What can we do? Just like a human, because I know what I can do. If I need to, I'll just call a manager and say, hey, can I just discount this product or whatever, and then make them happy. I would do that all the time. And another thing that I learned from them and implemented into Downstar is whenever somebody would pass in front of you 10 feet or whatever the rule was, you greet them. And at every show that I go to, I'm standing right there, and anybody that passes, I always greet them. Even if they're not looking at us, I always greet them. And then I'll walk around myself, and I'll go check out booths, and, you know, I'm looking at stuff, and the people at the booths, they won't even look at me. No. And then if somebody recognizes me, like, "Oh, what's up, man?" I'm like, "Nah, fuck you, bro. If I wasn't me, you're not gonna come over here and talk to me. Fuck you, dude. I ain't buying none of your shit."
You know how many times like you go to like a fucking like somebody's stall that they paid to be at the event for, and like you're just standing there staring at them, and they're fucking around on their phone or like, you know what I'm saying, or like doing some other shit that's not catering to a customer directly in front of them. You know what I'm saying, like. It happens too often, and it's a big drop point and a big point that, you know, I could capitalize on if I got into that segment. You know what I'm saying? Because I have that knowledge and I understand that, you know, that you need to. People love attention. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter what you're selling, like people love attention. You know what I mean? Like some of the most successful people are the ones that are outgoing and they have some kind of gimmick or like some kind of thing that like draws you into them for you to say like, okay, like that person, you know, has my attention for whatever. And like, again, same thing. Like I might not need any bolts or anything like that from you, but fuck, I'll buy the shit out of some shirts and some hats because, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel I'm fucking with what you're putting down, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's how that works out, you know?
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. So, let's get into podcasting, dude. You said that you started listening to the podcast. Do you remember when it was that you came into the podcast?
Your podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 59 or something. I don't remember the exact episode, but like I was kind of just skimming through them because like, I wasn't a full-blown like podcast listener.
Yeah.
Honestly, Downtime with Downstar made me like a full-time podcast listener.
No way.
So when I caught up to like from that point, like I didn't want to really like go too far back, so I haven't really gone back, but like I caught up to where I was at the time to like where you were, and then I started like finding new podcasts to listen to. I'm like, all right, I like this, I like this, I like this, and I just started like, you know, I started listening to that, and I think the episode that you and O did in New Hampshire is like the first time like when I was like, oh shit, like yeah, I do listen to this, you know what I mean? Like, and I wasn't even aware of what was going on. Dude, we were so big, bro. Like
you were in there, right?
Yeah. I remember I think I sent you.
Yeah, you sent me the picture
that took.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and it was like it was so funny. Like I was leaving the trailer and you were coming in and you were like, "Hey, what's up, bro? I'm Frank." And I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, dude, what's up?" You know, whatever. And then I came back in because I'm like, "Oh yeah, they're probably filming the episode of the podcast." I'm like, "All right, bet. Let me just sit in here for a little bit." And of course, like being high as shit, I'm parched. And I had to fucking leave because like I left there, and then when I got out the trailer, we started actually doing we started filming some stuff that we had with Luke from Fort Piston.
Yeah,
which that is funny because that's the same weekend that you did your podcast with him
Luke,
too, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So but we were doing some videos because we have a. We have a partnership with Fort Piston, where if anybody follows our page, they'll probably think like, you know, our haters call us like Fort Piston dick riders, but
gotcha.
Like they help us out.
Yeah.
And we help them out by sharing a lot of content. And like, so our media content is Fort Piston driven because they're kind of, I hate using the word sponsor, but that's what they are.
Oh, it's supporters for sure, dude.
Yeah. So, and you know, they help us out, we help them out, and that's just how that goes. So we're doing kind of a film project with them, which we've been slacking on it because there's so many other things going on. But we have all the stuff recorded and everything like that. We're just waiting to put everything. We're trying to decide whether we want to do a YouTube series, like, you know, if we want to do individual people that we interviewed, or if you want to do like a long form thing, like where we kind of just consolidate everything into one and release it. But I feel like there's so much that will be dropped out. But essentially, back to what I was getting at. Listening to being a part of sitting in with O kind of like revived me listening to the podcast, and from there I haven't missed one since after that one. You know what I mean? So like,
hell yeah, dude. Thank you so much, man. You always show so much love, and I really appreciate it because it's feedback from people like you that make the show good. You know, I always ask you all the time, is there anything, well, what do you think about this or that? And you give me your feedback, and I appreciate that so much because it helps me out. You know, sometimes, like you were saying when you were speaking patois and people wouldn't even know because in your head you thought you were saying the right thing. When I'm talking, feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I'm talking the right way, but then, you know, I'll have my wife tell me, oh, maybe you shouldn't say it like this. Maybe you could do it. And that stuff, it helps me out because my goal is to get so many people, as much people as I can, to listen to this message, whatever it is that's inside of these podcasts. So I'm trying my best to get as many listeners as possible. And I'm not really that stubborn in my way where it's like, okay, maybe change this aspect of it or change this, as long as it doesn't change like the foundation of what the podcast is, you know. But it really helps, especially to have like real listeners like yourself to chime in on things.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't want to step away from like what you know, you know, because it's so organic, and a podcast is like, it's just a thing that we've kind of always wanted media to be. You know what I mean? Like it's 100% of every, like, uncensored or unfiltered. Depends on how you market your stuff, but like for in the roots of things, like how things are going now, like the analogy I gave you when I texted you the other day. It's like a flight, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't know like when it's gonna leave, but it's all, you know, it's gonna leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's gonna happen, and at some point it's gonna happen. And when I saw the build up to the last pod, or not 156, but 155, the one with Alfredo, I was like, man, like I underestimated like how big that is. You know what I'm saying? like, because like at first I saw it, and right now I'm not working, so like, you know, I'm not like, typically my schedule is like Mondays and Thursdays, like when I'm driving to work, Downtime with Downstar is on, you know what I'm saying, or like whatever. And then but because I'm not driving to work, like I'm not like in the same thing, like I'm waking up late, I'm not, you know what I'm saying, I'm all over the place, and like I would feel like a weirdo just playing a podcast, you know, in the house, like, you know, just like, because I'm not going to pay attention to it, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to like when I'm listening in my headphones, you know. But then I took some time and like I went for a walk the other day, and like I was like listening to it just to catch up with that episode, because I had caught up with the 154, and then I listened to that one through and through, and it was solid, man. Like I said, I don't know where or how I can critique anything else that you're doing, you know, but like I would just say it's just keep doing the same exact fucking thing that you're doing, bro. Like, dude, it's working.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, that one with Alfredo. Shout out to Alfredo Mancuso from On Some Shit. That one was so organic, dude. It's fucking nuts, bro. Because there's a guy, Christian, who has a channel, Honda Vlogs. Are you familiar with him?
I am not. Christian who?
I forget his last name, but if you go to Instagram, it's Honda Vlogs. And,
okay, I know it, but I've never listened to it, but I know the name.
Dude, if you watch his YouTube channel, he would do it's called a weekly recap, right? So fucking sick, dude. He has a green screen behind him. He has his paper and it's a little screen, and he'll be like, "All right, guys, this week on Guncast, Aki and them talked about this and that," and then it'll show a little clip. All right, next up we have Zosh, and Zosh is working on his RSX, and it'll show a little. So fucking sick. That's dude.
Dope, dude.
It's dope.
So then it gives a spotlight to the people that are in the community that are doing it. That's fucking dope.
So when I was on my daily vlog for like over a month or so. That's all I could do, and I had to tap out. But I was doing the daily vlogs, and then he put us up on there a couple times, like, oh, that's cool. So he and I gained a friendship, and then he's like, hey man, you should check out this guy Alfredo. He's a biker and he owns that company on some shit. And I already knew that from Adam 22 from No Jumper. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, yeah man, he posts a lot of the same things that you do. I think you guys are pretty similar. So I was like, oh, that's dope. And he's like, yeah, would you want me to reach out to him, see if he would want to do the pod? I'm like, shit, I don't care. So he did that, and he was down for it. I'm like, oh, dude, that's awesome. So then he and I started connecting, and then he was awesome, man. Great dude. And we ended up making it happen. And that pod was in the making for probably like maybe a couple months or so. And his was the last one that we did before this pandemic hit. Then we had to move over to Skype. But yeah, dude, now he and I are working on things in the background, and hopefully it'll help us just spread the name a lot more. His name and our name too, you know? Because there's so many people that are into the bike community, that are in the automotive community. And it's dope just to see things like that, just to see it all intermingle, and especially like skateboarding too. It's just everything in one community is so dope. It just makes your impact a lot more bigger than it could be if you just focused on just solely Hondas, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like then same thing like with his followers probably would never ever hear about you.
Yeah, definitely.
And your followers probably would never hear about him. Because like I started following him because, you know, obviously you did the podcast, so I started following him. And like I heard his brother's name before, but I never knew who he was. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm like, oh, that's who. All right, cool. So I started following him too. Like so like now think about like the reach that, you know, that goes along with. You know what I'm saying? Like he gives you a shout out. Hey, you know, this is Frank Downstar, like whatever. Like you start having following from people there, and like all that networking just comes together like so good. Like whenever you have something that's again organic, like the way you have it. Yeah. Like I will say too, like our following for our page kind of came along the ways of the people that were around.
Yeah.
You know? So when I like I said, I got into like my friend Jason, this kid Jason Sealander. He used to have like a sport front wheel drive car back in the day, like probably like 07, 08. And think in World Cup 2010, I think he went to World Cup, and that's back when like they were doing index classes back then. You know what I'm saying? And like, and he told me like. He blew his car up, like he went like a 9.9 or something like that, blew his car up, and he's like, yo, don't ever miss, like you have to come to World Cup with me, like you can't miss it. I'm like, all right, cool. So 2011 World Cup was the first time I went to World Cup, and he's like, oh, you know, make sure you bring your camera, this and that, whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, got my cameras, and you know, again, like I do my photography for me, like I don't try to like be a certain way. I don't have a certain style of shooting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I want to shoot something that seems like it's got like a little bit more of a sepia tone to it, or like whatever, if I want to be like, you know, have something that has, you know, like what do you call that shit? If I want to layer up a photo or whatever, like to make things look like really artsy, like I could do that. But I'm random about like how I do it. Like it's just however I feel. Like my photography is literally my art, you know, and I'm the biggest critic of like what I do. So whenever I take pictures, I just hoard them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all on my computer. Like I never really, I'll post up, you know, let's say I post 10, 15 pictures from this event that I shot 500 pictures at. You know what I'm saying? So I have like this backlog of photos. Like I'm almost thinking of like going onto our page and just spamming our Instagram with like throwback pictures of like World Cup, you know what I mean? Like even like for instance that picture of Sheepy's car I showed you.
Yeah.
Like that was me just randomly in the pits. I'm like, oh shit, I saw this car in the magazine. Take a picture of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think there was I don't remember who it was. If it was Super Street or Import Tuner or Honda Tuner, I don't remember who, but it was Jason from FCS, Sheepy's car. and I think a car from Rywire. I'm not exactly
I'm pretty sure
sure,
it was Honda tuning.
Yeah, it might have been Honda tuning, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Yo, this is wild!" Like seeing these cars from the magazine, like at the track. You know what I mean? Like getting to be around them or whatever. And when you're around racers, like I think Jason probably doesn't remember this, but like I was around him from all those times, because like I'm good friends with Eladio Cruz. And he's like a sport front-wheel drive guy from like back then too. Like that's the car that we went to World Cup with.
Got you.
And they all mingle. They all, they're all in their little circle. Not a little circle, but like they all know each other and they all interact with each other.
Yeah.
So like, like I'm always in the background, like all right, yeah, I remember this person, or yeah, I remember that, and not to say I was having a face-to-face with the person, but I at least know who you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing people from the forums, like K20A, like I was all over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just like matching like screen names to faces, race cars, and so like there's so many racers that like I'm just familiar with them from forums and whatever, and they probably don't know who I am, but I know who they are. And like, kind of, that sounds stalkerish, but
that's the media man. That's the media man in you. You gotta know.
I know who they are, and like, it's not that I'm not that. We're not that big of a media outlet just yet, and I don't think we're really trying to be.
Yeah.
We just want to make everything good. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, being around everybody, and like, from that one World Cup that I went to in 2011. I started taking pictures, and I made sure I made like an album for every year that I went there. And it kind of just paid off to the point of where we are now, where I can go up to certain trailers and say what's up to the guys, because they're seeing me every fucking year. You know what I'm saying? They see me at HDAY, you're seeing me at, you're seeing me at like an import face-off, you're seeing me at wherever. Like, and I'm just there taking pictures. I might not come up saying hi to you or nothing like that. I might just be taking a picture of your car. I'll post a fire picture of it, like whatever.
Yeah.
Let it sit, tag you in it. If I know who you are, I'll tag you and just let it rock. You know what I mean? And like, so far it's been like people are recognizing who we are as a group. And a big part of that is due to like, Aki was a big person in our blow up, essentially. Jamie is obviously another one, which, I can get into like how I met Jamie, but like, those guys are the key ones for like why our page is the way they are, because they support us a lot and we support them too.
Buddy, we're gonna take a quick break for our sponsors, and we'll be back in 1 minute. We all know that there's tons of places you can buy your car parts at, but when you really need help, who's in your corner? When you need parts for your Honda, you need to visit HeelToeAuto.com. Since 2002, HeelToe has built a reputation for service and support. Let me repeat that, guys. Since 2002. It's 2020 right now. That's a long time of experience, man. These social media slingers and copycat web stores can't match HeelToe's professionalism. HeelToe even offers a complete OEM store for all your genuine parts needs. Whether it's for show, race, or just a badass daily, remember that HeelToeAuto.com is in your corner. And guys, if you're on Instagram, make sure you check them out at HeelToe Automotive. Please go to their page right now, add them, and comment that you heard them on Downtime with Downstar podcast. Next up is Downstar. Downstar is the premium leader in dress-up hardware and engine bay accessories. We have all the nuts and bolts for all your screwing and nutting needs. From engine kits, transmission kits, mount kits, clutch lines, brake kits, t-shirts, skateboards, hats, lighters. Damn, we got it all. We actually have too much, guys. So if you can, please come over and buy some stuff at downstarring.com or check us out at Instagram at Downstar. Make sure you give us a follow. Now back to the show. I think that's where I found out about you guys was from Aki back in the day when you guys were working together. I want to talk about that before we get away from that. Maybe an idea that you could do is on your story, just post up like World Cup 2011, 2012. Oh, we did that. Something. Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah, we did that.
Oh, that would be cool.
I was doing it for a while and then I somehow stopped. Like I was just going back and I like the photos that like were redundant, like we're either like a burnout shot, like, you know, when you're taking a photo, you're not just taking one photo, you take fucking like 15 of them, you know what I mean? So like, and then sometimes I'll edit them in different styles or like whatever. So like for those ones that just get tucked away, we know which ones we've used already and which ones we haven't. And some of them are so good that we just repost them.
Yeah.
But like for a while I was just going into my story and just like posting pictures, like throwback pictures, you know, of like whatever going back, which I think I should definitely bring that back up again.
Especially right now, since everybody's chilling at home. You know, you gotta right now. If you have a media page, right now is the time to put out content. And it's surprising me so much that like in my space, the podcast space, how many podcasts are taking a break right now. Yeah. You know, especially like my favorite podcast is the Joe Budden podcast. Mm-hmm. And they last week they upload every Wednesday and Saturday, and on Wednesday they said that they're gonna be off until they don't even know when. I'm like, come on guys, you can figure if I can figure out, you can figure it out, dude. You have to have respect for your community and the people that follow you, and that's why I'm so solid about, you know, not missing a date, and it has to come out at that exact time. Just because, and
I appreciate that, dude, because that shit made my schedule, bro. Like I know exactly what I'm listening to, like any day at a time where I know exactly what I'm listening to. Yeah. Like my podcast, my podcasting is weird. Like, I don't really listen to too many automotive podcasts, and I don't even classify your shit as automotive either, which I know you don't. Yeah. And you know, but like it's just automotive personalities. Yeah. But like, I listen to like weird shit. Like I listen to like the true crime stuff. Okay. Or I listen to like obviously like Joe Rogan. Yeah. The Mike Tyson podcast is another one I follow good. Nice. The guys from Donut Garage. Uh-huh. So that's an automotive podcast I listen to. So
that one's called like Skid Mark or something.
Pass Gas.
Pass Gas. I do. Skid Mark.
Same thing.
I knew it was something like that. Someone just put me on to that. I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, it's dope, dude. Like it's so I did like a little binging on that, like in between, like when I was listening to this, and like they do it like a breakdown of like some of like the early history stuff. Like it's all about history.
Got you.
Past, like whatever. So they give you a breakdown, and it tells you like about like how a bunch of like the movers and the shakers from back in the day, like how they were doing things, and like it makes you kind of realize that a lot of them were assholes.
Oh yeah, most automotive people are fucking assholes, bro.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where I'm like, that's not too far off from the race community, like, you know?
Yeah. So what other pods do you listen? What's your favorite like top 3 you would say?
Obviously Downtime with Downstar, Joe Rogan, and there's another one called Dissect. Which is like a hip hop. It's not hip hop. It's a guy that's a musician that basically takes albums and dissects them. So like he'll like each episode he'll like break a song down. The episodes are like 30 to 45 minutes. And he'll go line by line on like telling you like what things mean or like how he interprets it. Dude, it's insane. So like this is when I was like, I think when we were talking about our music conversation, like how we want to talk about music, which we can get into that.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let me put my gloves on.
So like dissect, like I thought I was like geeking out on music before, for the fact of like this, for instance, like, so how you're not up on Logic, right?
I mean, just a little bit. That Space album, I really like that album, but anything else, not so much.
Okay, cool. Like that's good. Like so you got that connection though with like how everything works out in that universe.
Yeah.
So like where, you know, when you're listening
to and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, you're listening to the second album, and then when you listen to the first album, you're actually listening to it on the second album. You're up on that, right?
Well, I didn't listen to the first album, so I'm not sure.
So when you listen to the first album, right, there's going to be a voice, a computerized voice talking to you, kind of like the old Tribe Called Quest album, and that computer program is like telling you, you know, how he created the song, blah blah blah, and like whatever. then, when you get to the end of the song, it tells you like this is the conclusion of the album.
Mm-hmm.
When you start playing the second album, he says, "Oh, I'm listening to oldies." And he's like, "Oh, Logic," and then he's like, "Yeah, I was listening to it on the way here." So how you interpret that is, when you listen to the first album, you're actually on the spaceship in the second album listening to the first album.
Oh, got you.
And so like when you start listening to it, like so then when he says I got my upgrade, that's like now the program that you were hearing on the first album is the new program, and so like that's the upgrade.
Got you.
And then it becomes present time, which is in the future, and blah blah blah. But it's a whole bunch of shit to follow. But that's the shit I like.
Yeah.
Because it's a concept and it's something that you have to think about to follow, and it's not just music. You know what I mean? Like things kind of like follow. Like I hate like albums that are just like a compilation of songs. Like I like themed albums.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love when an album like follows a certain theme. You know what I mean? Like even the songs don't even have to like roll into each other. They just have to be along the same subject matter. You know what I mean?
Like fucking bitches and doing drugs and shit.
That's always on the agenda, bro. But like, so the Dissect podcast showed me shit that I never knew, right? So like you listen to like Good Kid, Mad City, and Kendrick. You listen to that album, you know exactly what it is. It's him talking about himself as a teenager, like going through, and it kind of gives you a day in the life of like him, right? And that podcast takes different things that they're saying in the songs and like links them up in a way that is so crazy that it kind of shows you that Kendrick Lamar's whole ride in music is him fighting good and evil. You know what I mean? Like from his mixtape shit, like he had songs that were just like an internal battle between like being a good person or being a fuckboy. You know what I mean? Like and like it's the podcast kind of like lays everything out, and when you see it, like, and it's so funny every time he's saying something, like you're following it, he's saying something, and you're like, it sounds like you're stretching that a little bit. Then you hear him coming, and if that sounds like a stretch, and it's like, and then he like explains it out, and you're like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, and then
no way,
nothing ever seems like a stretch. I'm telling you, like that podcast is like underrated. If you haven't heard of it, like it's underrated, like super underrated. Like they broke down To Pimp a Butterfly. They broke down My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh no way.
Yeah, dude, that shit. Like I was on some fuck Kanye shit, right?
Yeah.
And then I heard that, and I'm like back to neutral again. Like I'm just like, all right, it's cool. Like even throughout all the bullshit that he was doing, like after I listened to that podcast, I'm like, it's like Kanye can do no wrong. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to music, anyways, you know what I mean? Like that.
I'm
like
gonna look it up now.
Oh yeah, dude, it's insane. Like it tells you like the stuff that led up to the album, and it explains like the studio sessions, and all he's doing is just going in and like explaining like what words mean and stuff. Like with the Kanye stuff, it's not that deep as like the Kendrick stuff.
Yeah.
But there's things that you like. So he'll break down like keystrokes, bro. Like why Kanye would play a beat a certain way, or like why he would like how he would like structure a beat a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it kind of shows you how genius he is. Like no matter what people say, dude, like Kanye is a fucking genius. Dude.
Yeah.
Like when you hear how he like puts shit together and the breakdown of everything, it's incredible. I don't want to like talk about it too much because then it takes away from you listening to it. But like trust me, listen to that if you get some time. I think each season is like 15 episodes or something like that. And he also does retro stuff too. So like just like how so the format of your podcast, you ask your guest like go back to like your beginner days, whatever. Like he'll go back to like the beginning days of like Kanye's life and shit like that. So like the first like 3 episodes or so is like all how Kanye got to where he is, and then like episode 4 would start like song number 1. You know what I mean? And then it goes through it.
Thank you, dude. I'm with that. I'm gonna look that up. I have it on my phone. I'm gonna listen to that for sure because that album is amazing.
Oh, dude, incredible. So I was calling it like after I listened to the podcast, I was like, it was in my mind before the podcast. It was in my mind like top 10 albums of the decade, hands down.
Yeah.
Right. And then that podcast, I listened to it. I'm like, it's 1, 2, or 3. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like and then after I really soaked it in, I'm like, it's number 1.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, like
it came out as number 1.
Yeah, it's the number 1 album of the decade. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's incredible, like how over like how crazy he is, and how like if you're not geeking out about shit or if you're not like paying attention, you can't understand like how good he actually is. You know what I mean?
But don't you feel like an artist has to have everything to be able to be accepted like that? Like what I'm trying to say is with Kendrick, right? Some of those albums, if you break them down and break down what he means and everything, it's still not going to do much for me because it's not an enjoyable listen. It would be more of like reading a book, you know? And it's like, you know, I kind of don't want to put this on to like read a book right now.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's how do I explain it? Like Good Kid, Mad City, I feel like is a story, right?
Yeah.
Like sit down and it's a story. You listen to the story, right? To Pimp a Butterfly is, for me, as a black person in America, and the time when it came out, it resonated heavy.
Gotcha.
Because like the drum patterns that they were using, like the amount of jazz samples that were not samples, but like how they were structuring the album, like how the beat came together, the things he was saying, like. And I'm not one to like always bring race into it or anything like that, but like if you're black and you understand what being black is, like regardless of whether or not you harp on it, like you understand how society treats you as a black person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so like listening to that album, it kind of just like it resonates different. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't like when I listen to it, I don't expect my white friends to know or feel the same way about it as some of them do. You know what I'm saying? Because they fuck with music and they, you know, whatever. But I don't expect everybody to feel the same way I do about it. And then like when you listen to his album Damn, that's the album that he made that was like he's still saying the same shit. Like not the same shit, but like he's still saying it the same way, but in a more up-to-date format. You know what I'm saying? Like all the beats were like more modern beats and like something that you can hear like a Lil Pump on, or like you can hear like, you know what I'm saying, like one of these other littles on, you know what I'm saying? And you'd be like, oh shit, all right, cool. Like he could have thrown any of them on there as just like a feature if you wanted to, and it would go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like as a whole he's very easy for me to listen to because that's just that's just what I listen to. Yeah. And I kind of I'm guessing here, but like where you're coming from is like I think is the total opposite of like where I'm coming from with like new music per se. You know what I mean? Like where I feel like you're more up on like the newer like up and coming guys like the SoundCloud rappers. Yeah. And versus where I'm just coming around to it now.
Oh really?
Yeah, like I think Lil Baby's album that he dropped the other day was like fire.
Oh,
like,
really? I haven't heard it yet, but I fuck with Lil Baby.
Fire. Yeah. His album was fire. Like for a while, I didn't really like him because like I just thought he was just kind of like the way his voice is. But then like I listened to that album and I'm like, damn, dude, like that was fire. 21 Savage's album that he had with the J. Cole song on it, like I thought that album he really stepped up. You know what I'm saying? Like I was able to listen to it, but where I feel like before I wasn't able to like take any of his songs serious, especially like when you have people like in parodies of his songs. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like comedians that make fun of them already, you know, and it makes it harder to listen to because you can't hear anything except the comedy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't think I'll ever get into like a Lil Pump. You know, it's just not me. Lil Yachty, I can't stand him.
Come on,
I can't, dude. It just sounds slow to me. Like, not to make Like, it's just like I just can't do it, dude. Like, that's
I'll
probably
take
fucked up
that.
of me to say, but like, but you understand where I'm coming from, right?
I
Like,
do, but the way that I look at it, right? Because a lot of these guys. Okay, so to just start off,
yeah,
like I have utmost respect for hip hop, breaking down lyrics and understanding what people are saying and getting the whole concept, like a
yep,
Kendrick thing, right? I equate music to food, right? That's
yep,
gonna be your grade A steak, filet mignon, lobster, best shit, right?
yep,
I don't always want to eat that, bro. Sometimes I want to eat a Snickers. You know,
right.
sometimes I want to have some pizza. Sometimes I don't want that crazy ass meal, dude. And that's what I feel that things like that are. And that's why you and I have got into those conversations about Eminem. I understand
Yeah.
all the Eminem breakdowns. I've seen it and I've understand the quadruple entendres that he's doing. But it's
Mhm.
just like, bro, at this time, I'm not trying to do
It's
that.
just too much to think about. I got it.
You
Like,
know?
there's people that say like that have that, but like for me, like again, coming from like how I listen to music and how I take it,
Yeah.
um, M was one of those artists that I listened to when I was trying to learn how to speak like an American. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, and because of how he raps, where phonetically he pronounces everything. You know what I'm saying? Like you can hear every word that he says, and you can follow everything that he's saying. Um, I am a huge fan of his. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because of like lyrically, he says he fits words into places that shouldn't happen. Like
Yeah.
it should not happen, and I think that's incredible. You know what I mean? Another person like that I fuck with heavy, heavy, heavy. Like I think if you were to go through my iTunes and say like my favorite artist is the one that I have the most albums of, Tech Nine.
Oh,
Like
really?
yeah, dude. Like fucking, I have like pretty much like every Tech Nine release since like '02. You know, and
Yeah.
like and I was listening to him like in high school too. You know, not heavy heavy in high school, more so in college. Like when fucking he came out like in '06 when he came out with what do they call that song? Fuck.
I wouldn't know
Uh,
any of it, bro, to be
well,
honest.
he had a song that was like a drinking anthem.
Okay.
It was like 151 rum, pineapple juice, whatever. Caribou was the song it's called. Yeah, Caribou. Um, so like when that song came out, like I was in college drinking it up, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that song was relatable. And then I was like, oh, yeah, this is a dude I used to listen to in high school. And I just went back on his catalog and I just started buying his albums. Especially working at Best Buy, you get them shits like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Little employee discount, you know what I mean? Like, so, um, yeah, I listen to Tech Nine heavy. His whole, like, record label. So, like, he's independent and he's got his own record label and shit. So, and he's one of those people like where nobody that's on his roster sounds crappy.
Yeah.
Like when they do shows, like it's just him and they don't do locals. It's just him and his artists, and like so you'll get a dose of artists that are on his label that are up and coming, and you're like, oh shit! Now you're not only a Tech Nine fan, but you're like a Stevie Stone fan, a Chris Calico fan, whatever. And there's all these dudes that you start listening to, and it becomes overwhelming sometimes for me because like it's just too much music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And especially nowadays where I listen to podcasts, like I don't really have time to fit music in. Like I don't if I'm driving in my car, I don't listen to music. Like I listen to a podcast. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But for the most part, like those guys are like the ones that I listen to that I'm just like, all right, cool. Like I want that's the type of music I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Some of the newer stuff, I'll listen to it just for the fact of like listening to it. Where, all right, I don't want the steak. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
want a little
Yeah.
bit of dessert. I want to turn up a little bit. You know what I mean? And then some of it, sometimes I get to like it. You know what I mean? And then there's also the ones that kind of sound like they're trying to be hype or whatever, like in that same range. But then you end up listening to it for real, and you see that they're actually lyrical too. Like
Yeah.
I saw a clip actually of like Playboy Cardi, um, the other day, like rapping. Dude sounds exactly like Big Sean. Like I would never put that together. You know what I'm saying? Like Genius had it up, and they're like, "Which one do you prefer? Like, old Playboy Cardi or new Playboy Cardi?" And I'm like, the old one. You know, because he's rapping. You know what I'm saying? Versus like the little baby voice shit that he's doing now. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Like I can't really listen to that. But then same thing with Uzi. Uzi's the same way. Like when I first like really started hearing about Uzi was on like Bad and Bougie, and like I really hated his verse. But then he said something about Ferraris, and I'm like, all right, this nigga knows something about Ferraris. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like 458. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, word, all right, cool. You know, and then like I listened to his newest album that he just dropped, and I liked it.
Hell
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
that
Like,
album's fire.
And he had a bunch of car talk on there. I'm like, man, I can fuck with that. You know what I mean? Because he's talking the shit. You know. And then I guess that like the R8 that he has, like Sheepy, it's got a Sheepy kid on it.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was even more props. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can fuck with anybody that's getting down with our community, you know.
What I was saying about Yachty is, you know, I'm in the culture a lot where I listen to interviews and kind of get the backstory on these people before they start to pop or as they're popping, and just a young kid going to college and just found this lane and was able to turn it into something, and realizes that he's not the most lyrical person, but he's like trying. And there's one song that I really like with him and T Grizzly. It's from the D to the A, because T Grizzly's from Detroit. Are you familiar with him?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm up.
And then Yachty's from Atlanta, and just I listened to the backstory on that one from T Grizzly, and he's saying, yo, Yachty, he just wanted to do this flow on the song where they're just going back and forth. It's kind of like he does his part, Yachty will do his part, and then they'll just go back and forth. And it's fire, dude, because he really doesn't have to put himself in those kind of situations, but he chooses to, because he likes the art of what rapping is, and he's just trying to be better at it. And I can't say that for a lot of these new artists out.
I mean, honestly, there's a bunch of rappers that do that. I think 21 is one of those rappers.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like where like he knew like he's not like, no matter how many times, because a big part of hip hop is to puff your chest and say you're the best. You know what I mean? But he kind of recognized that, like, all right, maybe his shit is not up to par, like what he should do and whatever. And then he, you know, went in, and actually you could tell that he sat down and he did his thing with this album, and it was enjoyable to me. Like I didn't just like the radio singles. You know what I'm saying? Like there's songs on the album that I fuck with heavy. You know what I'm saying? Like where I will go back and listen to it repetitively, you know. So I feel like one thing that was coming with music for me, when I was younger, like I used to think Missy Elliott was whack.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, like because I used to listen to so I'll give my intro to hip hop. My intro to hip hop was my big brother is 9 years older than me. And I want to say probably in 94, 95, I want to say, is like the first time I really started listening to hip hop. You know, obviously super young kid, but my brother is that much older and he's in high school or whatever. So that's what they're listening. They're listening to everything, and hip hop was a part of the menu. His friends, you know, I had to hang around him and his friends. So 94, 95, we're listening to Biggie, you know, Ready to Die.
Yeah.
Listening to Tupac, All Eyes on Me. We're listening to Wu-Tang, you know, 36 Chambers. We're listening to all sorts of shit. And so when I first started listening to hip hop, it was the main ones I remember as a kid was like Wu-Tang, Biggie, Tupac, Bone Thugs and Harmony, because that one of our friends really loved them too. Like Ghetto Boys, Tribe Called Quest, Nas, and there's a bunch more, but like that's basically, those are the names that I remember like when I first started listening. And then of course my brother was like a huge Tupac fan, so he had all of his albums. And you know, so then our neighbor that was like 2 houses down was a huge Biggie fan.
Yeah.
So like there was always like they didn't beef, you know, but like there was always this thing like, yo, fuck that, we ain't playing no Biggie in this house. And then my brother would be like, yo, we only playing Tupac in this house, you know what I mean, whatever. And then one of my other other friends, he like only would listen to like he listened to Nas a lot.
Yeah.
So and then, but because my brother is all Tupac, like I gained the whole thing. I'm on whatever Tupac's on, whatever time Tupac's on, that's the time I'm on. So it's like, fuck Biggie, fuck Jay-Z, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck Nas, like fuck all these dudes, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause that's who I'm riding for, especially like when the Machiavelli album came out. And like, if you ever listen to the Machiavelli album and you hear how he was like just saying fuck everybody.
That's just dark,
like,
bro.
Dude, it's so fucking dark. Like, it's like, oh my God, like this cat was just going in on people.
Yeah. And
you're like, yo, like, are you good? like is one of his boys gonna ask him if he's good? Like, and it sucks. Like things played out the way they played out.
Yeah.
And of course, now knowing what we know how things went down and like how he got killed and whatever. But it took me until my teenage years to realize like how good Biggie was, or how good Nas was, or how good Jay-Z is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was never a big Jay-Z fan until the Black Album.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah, I would like Reasonable Doubt.
God.
Reasonable Doubt wasn't on my radar at all. Like some of the songs were, but like it wasn't on my radar. And the album I had from Jay-Z was Hard Knock Life. Or not Hard.
Yeah, Volume 2.
Volume 2, yeah. So that's the album I had, and that's because I was a huge DMX fan, and Money Cash Hoes on that album. So I literally got that album because of Money Cash Hoes. and like, of course I listened to Busta Rhymes and shit like that, but like that's just kind of like where I started off, was just a big Tupac fan, which to this day I'm a huge Tupac fan.
Hey, if you're talking about Busta, bro, Extinction Level Event, that album can go right now.
That album is today. Like, dude, I was listening to it probably like 3 or 4 years ago. My boy Jason, we were driving in because he drives tractor trailer. I think I must have had a day off or something like that, and we were listening to it. And I heard the thing, and he's talking about the Twin Towers going down. I'm like, I go back in the phone. I'm like, wasn't this shit released in like '98? This nigga's talking about Twin Towers coming down. Yeah, I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and then you know what's even creepier when you listen to the intro.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That intro is super creepy, dude.
Yeah, because it just explains everything that's going on. You know what's even crazier too? So Logic had with that Incredible True Story album.
Yeah.
He has a screenplay that he wrote for that album, right? Where he's explaining why that concept came about, and it's saying that like I think the year is like 2025 is where he gave us, right? Something went wrong with the food supply in the world, right? And then like the water got contaminated, and like people just started dying of this disease.
Yeah.
Right. At like exponential numbers, which is what we're going through right now. You know what I mean? And it got so bad that like they were doing like synthetic food or something like that or whatever, and the synthetic food was being tarnished by the contaminated water, and so it got so bad that they had to figure a way for us to just leave the planet because the planet was becoming inhabitable. And it said like 5 million people were left on the planet when it was all said and done, and they all went up into the space station, and that's where the album is taking place because they're living in the space station as of like 2065.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So like when I listen to shit like that, I'm like, oh fuck, like we're gonna go like we got like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like
it's like Interstellar, dude.
Yeah, dude, and I think a big part of like what he was inspired by was that movie Interstellar.
Yeah, that movie's a trip, bro.
Oh, bro, I fucking lost my shit. I have to watch it like 3 more times before I completely understand what's going on.
Yeah,
because like, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, how the fuck did this? What, you know what I mean? Like, I have to like go back and see it again.
Before we get off music topic, do you listen to Young Thug?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So Much Fun was a pretty solid.
Dude, that album is so fire, bro. You know, I talked to a lot of people that aren't really familiar with newer hip hop or what's going on, and you play them some Young Thug, and like, I don't want to listen to this shit. I'm like, it's because you're not listening, bro. You need to listen.
Did you hear his song with him and Joyner?
On which album?
Joyner's album, ADHD.
No, I haven't. I haven't listened to Joyner's album, and I need to.
Do.
That's a good song.
Oh yeah, the song is called "The War."
Okay,
and it's not a Joyner song; it's a Young Thug song.
Really,
like, in terms of like how it sounds, like sonically, it's a Young Thug song.
Dope.
Like where it's like kind of like acoustic and like like kind of like more of like a singing more than a rapping.
Yeah.
Because I like that. Like whenever I think Joyner is so diverse. He's another one that's like just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Like he's so diverse as an artist that like he can go on a track with anybody. You know what I mean? And just fit right in. Like the song with him and Young Thug, it literally sounds like it fits in the album. Somehow fits in the album, but it sounds like a Young Thug song, so it should be on a Young Thug album. Yeah. And you should just be like it's weird, but it's a pretty solid listen, that album. Which is weird. Like one of my buddies, like he was saying, like he wasn't blown away by the album.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, bro, you're not blown away because you've been listening to the album for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I've been meaning to listen to the Joyner album. I heard it was really good, but I just haven't had a chance to. I haven't put it on the list to sit down and listen to it. But I really fuck with Joyner, except for when he lost to Tory Lanez.
I don't think he lost.
Come on, that ZZ song, bro. No, that was garbage.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Well, that one.
I think that was second round, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the ZZ one was the first round. The second round was with him and Tory on the same song.
That might have been third round, bro. I think.
Oh, okay.
That might have been third round.
Yeah, okay. You might be right. I think you're right on that. Yeah.
But I think most of it had to do with me underestimating Tory, though. But he spit.
Yeah, a lot of people did underestimate him. Well, I knew he was dope. I mean, honestly, I underestimated him a little bit too, but like I knew he was dope. You know what I mean? Like I feel like anybody that writes R&B, can be a good rapper. You know what I mean? Like that's just a weird thing. Like Chris Brown, for instance, like hearing Chris Brown rap, like he's better than most rappers. You know what I mean? Like when you hear him rapping. So like the fact that Tory Lanez is like a good rapper is not I underestimate him a little bit, but not too crazy. But he definitely kept up with Joyner way better than I thought he would have. And even exceeding him in some points, you know. But that's just like the side of like what how he raps and whatever. Like when you listen to his albums, like you get a really good idea of like how Joyner is. And if I don't know if it was in an interview he said it or whatever, but he says that like he visualizes songs before, like a concept, like a video.
Yeah.
For a song before he writes it, and then he writes the song based on the concept that he visualizes. Yeah,
which isn't hard to believe. Because a lot of his videos are concepts.
When you see his videos, when you see his videos, you're like, all right, cool, like I get it, like and everything just flows right, and kind of like how the Will Smith one is like the easiest one to recognize. You know what I mean? Like he's saying things and just dropping the names of the titles and like making them appear as he's saying it in the video, but like what he's saying is relatable to the message that he's giving.
Yeah, it was good. The Will Smith one, probably my least favorite out of all of them. My most favorite is probably gonna be between "I'm Sorry" and the Ross Cappuccioli or however.
Cappuccioni.
That one is fucking nuts.
Which is wild because the Ross Cappuccioni song is on his first album, and the "Sorry" is on his second album. Which, I mean, for me, "Sorry" like brings out emotion, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Like if you listen to that song, especially if you watch the visuals video for it, and it doesn't like touch you a certain way, especially if you've known people that like, you know what I'm saying, that have committed suicide or whatever, like it's it's wild, bro. Like, I personally don't have. I don't think I don't really. Well, yeah, there's like one, but we weren't that close. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people that have committed, so but like we weren't that close. But like I could just imagine like what it's like. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely, man.
I know what it is like to deal with death, and it's like it's not it's not the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's fucking talk about something positive, bro. Who shot you? So you guys came up with the logo, and then what was the game plan after that? What was your guys' mindset? Like, yo, this is what we're gonna do.
Um, after that, it was just to do things that people weren't doing.
Mm-hmm.
To just hop in the spaces that we saw that were open.
Mm-hmm.
And like we don't want to like just like give you event updates or like whatever. Like we want to hear from like the racers. We want to like give you like a behind the scenes essentially of like what's going on, which is why we're cool. We're super stoked about having like Four Piston as like a group of guys that we're so close with, that we have that access. You know what I'm saying? It was super nice to have like somebody like Jamie or Aki or Sonic or like whoever as like people that we're close to that we can get behind the scenes with and like, kind of give a perspective that you would normally wouldn't see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I hate to bring it up because it's just so fucking controversial, but like if you take away like a bunch of the bullshit like that surrounds like Aki, like a lot of the shit that he says when it comes to like the attitude of like the racers and like how they carry themselves, you know what I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
And it might not even be something that they realize, you know what I'm saying? But like when he says certain things, like how people like, there's people that have a following that do nothing with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like people that are marketable that don't market themselves. And that's literally like what he's saying. Like, there and you can't get mad at him for like when now he has his movement that he's so successful with. You can't get mad at him for, capitalizing on something that's there. You know what I mean? That's like me. That's like me like saying, oh, well, I know how to take good photos, but I'm not going to do it because like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it just makes no sense. So what he's doing is he's taken the platform that he created for himself and he's running with it. And he's doing super positive things at the same time. You know what I mean? I don't know if you saw the other day where he was doing that giveaway, he gave back. He split up like $5,000 or whatever to families that were in need. You know what I mean? Like that's super fucking dope. You know what I mean? That's like super positive. And I feel like me as a person, if I never fucked with him before, like something like that would make me fuck with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it just depends on what kind of person that you are. A lot of people in that space, they're very hard headed, and they're just stuck on things that happened 3 years ago, and they're just harping over that rather than seeing what he's doing now. There's nobody in the racing space that I know that can even come close to him with the type of content that he's putting out. Like, it's an entertaining show. He's an entertaining show.
Not even close.
He has a grasp on his community, and he's helping out his community. He's not the number one. He's taking care of everybody else, and everybody else just wants to be the man just cause.
Right.
But then they have this huge following, and they never do shit with it. And it's just like, you can't get mad at somebody who's doing something with it that you're not even able to do. There's nobody in the racing community that can put on a show like Guncast that he has weekly and have it entertaining, because I know most of these guys and they're not entertaining. And if you strip everything away from it, they're just some dudes that have a fast car, but they don't have any personality. And the personality that they do have, they're just douchebags. And it's not anybody else's fault but themselves. If you're able to flip your community, quote unquote community that you have, from posting memes or what have you, go ahead, flip it and do something positive with it if you can, but not everybody can. So it's easy to point fingers and just to talk.
Yeah, it's definitely easier for people to be, you know, a critic. You
Yeah.
know, it's the easiest thing to be a critic before you become a doer. But so yeah, having been around that, um, it really had us think or rethink like how we could market stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and not to make a dollar, it's more or less to make ourselves marketable. So I know you talked to Jason, so about like what we do or
Yeah.
whatever with him or whatever. And that's mostly on Merzet's part.
Yeah.
But like things like that, that's a
Yeah.
space that we'd like to
Which is
occupy.
great.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's nothing at all to do with racing per se. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like that's like so. Which was funny. Like again, back to how we're trying to be positive here. So I'll make this quick. But the whole HDAY thing, like
Yeah.
everything that happened, like on that weekend was just so insane. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if you know our side of that, but so it's the weirdest thing. I don't know if I should even talk about it, but um, so something happened.
Uh-huh.
Um, we 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 had reached out to them
Uh-huh.
to get passes for media, and they said, "Oh, we can only give you guys one media pass." I'm like, "Well, it's two of us, you know. Oh, well, we can only give you one." So we're like, "All right, cool, like whatever." So I was talking with Miz, and he was like, "Yo, what if you like go in the stands and go live?" And I'm like,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
"Bet."
yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, so
I'm
I
familiar
think
with
you were
all of
there.
that situation, yeah.
Yeah, so like all that happened down and whatever, and like I'm like, and it was so unnecessary to me because like, well, yeah, because Aki went over it, but like for us, it's kind of like it was blindsiding because I'm like, dog, I don't come into this to fuck with anybody. I'm not trying to fuck with anybody's bread, like you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like we're not reaching out for money. Like we're here to do is just share content, bro. Like that's it, and share content and like get our names out because at the end of the day that's what makes you marketable. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody has to have heard about you before they can say, all right, let me see what this cat's about. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like what I look like coming up to like a brand like FCS or a brand like Four Piston and saying like, hey, I want to do business with you, and like all they have to say to me is like, what do you have to offer?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I already have this large catalog of stuff going on, they can see it, then okay, like this is what I do. Are you down to fuck with that or whatever? And we just go from there, But people don't see it that way if that's not their vision, you know.
Yeah, I think how I feel about all of this stuff, man, is that the community has really showed me where their values are, and it's really made me understand where I don't need to be at, because if I don't share the same values with a whole group of a community, then that's not the community that I need to put all my eggs in that basket, and when certain things are being looked at as positive, when to me, growing up, in my DNA, it was so negative. It's just like, okay, go ahead, do whatever you guys are going to do over here. That's all good. I'm going to be over here. And that's where I've
Yeah.
been. I've been over here doing my own thing. I don't care about what anybody else is doing. I don't care whatever they think. I wish everybody the best, and then
Yeah.
why I say those things about, what Aki's doing, what he's been able to do, and that nobody else can put on a show like him, is not because that's what I want. I wish that there would be so many other people with different shows, different personalities, they're marketing themselves, they're helping out the community, because then all of this is going to grow. But if you're just having people that are just pointing fingers and just telling on people and just being negative, it's like, okay, that's kind of not where I want to put my time and my energy. So I'm going to have to step over here. And that's just as honest as I can be. But everybody listening to this, I have no problem with anybody. I wish everybody does the best, but it's just black and white. It is what it is,
Yeah. That's where our mindset was at for a little bit. Like I'm like I really question like is this even worth like our time? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's like giving us money to be here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like is this worth all the bullshit? And it's like, all right, I can cut all the bullshit out. And then then you have people that like really fuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then started gaining traction. Like, I'm like, what? Like, yeah, after all that, like, it started getting, like, I think after World Cup, like we have more racers that are like in tune with us now than ever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like huge shout out. Are you familiar with like the Island Boys?
No.
Like the Marsh built
Oh yeah,
car.
yeah.
And, so like Jason Marsh and all, like, yeah, like they're like, they support us, like super support us. You know what I mean? Like, those guys are awesome. And like they just, you kind of like see the politics in everything.
Yeah.
Like when you're around people, like you see who they move with and like whatever. And I feel like people just tiptoe so much around in the race community that it's just so funny to me. Like, to see it. But again, I don't try to like have any beefs with anybody. I just try to keep it mutual. Like, I have pictures of everybody's cars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't not take a picture of somebody's car because like whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I think it's a dope looking car, I take a picture of it. You know what I mean? I'm media. That's what I do. You know? It may never see the light of day on the page, but we have it. You know what I mean? Like, there's, you know, because again, we would never want to like put shit out that would like stir up any type of controversy. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not what we do. You know what I mean? Like, and if anybody like, and I like to be very transparent with stuff. Like, if somebody has like an issue with whatever is going on, like, I would talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a fucking adult. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can have a conversation without being hot. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel that, dude, and I feel a lot of the stuff, all it does take is just a conversation. You know, at the end of the day, we're just all men, dude. If we can't sit down like a man and have a conversation, but there's sometimes that conversations really don't even need to happen, because if we're politicking, I'm trying to be presidential and not like, you know, locally in your little town or what have you. But anyways, we were supposed to talk that weekend. I felt the energy wasn't right, and you know, I've been following you and Miz ever since then, and following what you guys are doing, and I love it, man. You know, I love to see people building things, and you know, that have passion for it, and that's just how it goes. When you start something, you're going to have a certain intention, and then you're going to realize that maybe some things that you do aren't going to come off the way. So you're constantly evaluating yourself. And, you know, me being in it 10 years, I'm still constantly doing tweaks here and there, trying to make sure that we're going in the right direction. So you're going to run into situations like that where you're just like, oh, I didn't understand that. But then you understand like the whole severity of everything. It was like, okay, this is a little different than I expected. So then you have to kind of change your game plan up a little bit.
Yeah, like what do you call it? Like a big friendship that we gained like with everything was Chris from Vane.
Oh yeah.
Engine stands. He's like it's weird as fuck. Like, if you saw like how we roll, dude, you'd think that we were homies from like forever ago. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like a super genuine person, and it, like, when you talk about vibes, like, I vibed with that kid immediately. Like, first time, like, I met him at HDAY.
Yeah.
Like, we spoke probably like about 2 years or a year or so before that. Like just on our personal Instagrams or whatever, before he even did the Vane engine stands thing, like whatever, because he came into one of Aki's Aki made a post or something like that, and I commented. It was something like say what engine you have in your car or whatever, right? And I put up what I had, and it was very close to what he was trying to do. And so he DM'd me, and he was asking me questions about it, and like, you know, we're just talking back and forth, whatever. And I'm not gonna hold any info back from anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to learn about it, and I don't mind teaching or, you know, sharing what I learned. You know what I'm saying, with somebody. And so, you know, he ended up building a similar engine to like what I built, and so then fast forward, like, he hit me up like when he was starting the Vane engine stands thing. He's like, oh, yo, remember this was my screen name before, this and that. I'm like, yeah, I remember, like, you know, whatever. And so then he started off the van engine stance thing, and we've been supporting him since day one, because again, I got a personal relationship with him before then, and just seeing everything go, and it was so crazy. Like we were like watching our fan base like grow together at the same time. So like we're just like, oh, we would promote his stuff, he would promote our stuff, and like it just kept going, and like I think we both crossed the 10K mark in the same week.
Yeah.
Which was like pretty dope. Like it was just like, oh, I'm like 500 from 10K, like whatever. So we were like, yo, started blasting this shit on our stories, posting about it, whatever. Yeah. And then like he would do the same for us, and like in the same week, like we both got over the 10K hump or whatever. Because then that opens up like the swipe up feature and like all that other shit, So we were pretty stoked for getting to that point.
Well, if you guys are listening right now, we need 10K for Downtime with Downstar. So pause this and go to Instagram and search Downtime with Downstar, and please follow so we can get that swipe up feature. So what are you guys doing this year that maybe there will be no events? What's your game plan?
So remember at the start I was saying Merzet's in the garage now. So he's got an EK that he's working on.
Sick.
So we're kind of, I don't know, we're kind of like gearing it towards being like an 1150 index car.
Cool.
To just kind of make it like a piece where we can, not to like do like YouTube content or anything like that too crazy. Like we'll do stuff with it, but like essentially we're trying to use it as a tool for like whatever marketing we want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if we get a sponsor or like somebody wants to help us out, like we can have it on the car or whatever, and go from there. So as like a group thing, like the plan is to get that car done this year. And we're not that far away. Like we stripped it down already. We're in the process of putting it back together. So we're waiting on an engine to get built. Our local guy, KJ, he's going to be building the motor, which is actually my old motor, that I took it apart because it had a bad rod. Gotcha. So I got new rods for it, whatever, and then like, so we decided to put it in that car instead of the EP3 because the EP3 is a heavy pig. I'm pretty sure you know that already. Yeah. So it wouldn't have been the car to be an 1150 car with, but plus it's like Merzet's like first shot at like having like a good all motor car. You know what I mean? So or a good Honda build. Because his toy car is a Mercedes C63.
Oh, nice.
So and then I have my Evo and I have my EP3. So it's like, we don't really like dabble too much in the older Hondas, but that's kind of like where we're going to be dabbling with the older Hondas. So there's that as a project, and then we're also working on doing like new media stuff, and also try to do more of that, more of the branding. Helping with the branding with other companies.
Are you guys still selling apparel right now?
We haven't made any new designs yet. I mean, we still have hoodies. We haven't made too much of a push towards it because I don't think it was. We didn't foresee it being that crazy. And I think we should probably capitalize on it a little bit.
Definitely.
We just never like really saw it as like a thing like where we would push it, but then we started seeing like people tag us in pictures of them wearing our stuff, or like just randomly like getting a picture, like a text message from one of my homies like, yo, I seen this dude there here, the shop was having your shirt on, like it's like, all right, cool, like I like that shit. So we're gonna work on new brand designs, probably come out with like some tees or something like that, and like because we just dropped the hoodies last winter, which that got a really, really, really solid what do you call that, feedback on it, because it was like the worldwide design on
I like that one. That was
like,
dope.
it's like got all all the countries and stuff like that. So because we have people that found our page from all over the place, you know what I mean, and so it really spoke. It really was. It's heartwarming whenever we get contact from somebody that sees our content, whether it's because of Jamie or because of Aki or whoever, but they come to our page and they like show us love and like whatever we had to ship stuff internationally. Like when you ship stuff internationally, it's like, oh fuck, like I made it,
Yeah.
but like it definitely is something that we need to push on. Of course, still going to be doing video. We're always collecting content. There's things that are going on that we can't speak on.
Nice.
Whether it be for like cars that are coming out or whatever, but
Yeah, I might.
That's.
I might need to talk to Miz soon. I need to get a couple things changed around. So
Yeah,
definitely, man. I love what you guys are doing. So what would you like your space, your legacy to be for Who Shot You in the race community?
Ideally I would like it to be not necessarily like a cinematic or anything like that, but like more so just to get more personality into it, So we just went into this whole thing of like, oh, more, racers or dicks or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, would like to show that like, or bring out more of the human side of it. You know what I'm saying? Like not just the cockiness or whatever that goes on with it.
Yeah.
We just like want to. I personally would like to make sure that like our we're remembered as the guys that were at every event taking coverage and like giving you something that you can enjoy when you're viewing it back, and also like we're cool to talk to. You know what I'm saying? Like both of us like we're not necessarily talkative guys, but like we can talk, and we can carry conversations, and like we both understand different aspects of things. Like when it comes to, so like Merzette is more of the techie, the tech side of things, so like technology stuff, and I'm more like the car guy. You know what I mean? Like where I understand like the ins and outs of like what goes on like with different cars and like what to pay attention to, and so that's how we vibe with all that. So essentially, we just want to be recognized as ourselves first of all. Just not when you say a media person, you don't want to just. I don't want to be referred to as a media person. I just want to be referred to as our name, because at the end of the day, like if you get thrown in the pool with everybody else, like what makes you different? You know what I mean? Like you have to make sure. Like I don't want to be recognized as a media person. I want to be Who Shot You.
I feel you. So do you know if there's any misconceptions about you guys that that you want to address?
Even though not necessarily. I mean, again, like if there is, I'd love for people to like actually say to us. You know what I mean? Like as opposed to like just saying it amongst themselves or their circles or whatever. If there is any misconception, we try to clear it up. You know what I mean? There's been things that we've recently had to like settle out, just basically having conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like and from there on, like, and again, we won't even like get into like the small talk with people that don't have a platform, honestly, because I mean that sounds kind of cocky, but like if you don't have a platform, I don't have to get into a conversation with you on my platform. Like I can talk to you on my personal page, but I'm not going to get into it with anybody on our platform. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that's the legacy. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to keep that as spot free as we can, because whatever. But like there, as far as misconceptions, like everything we've cleared it up all. Honestly, we've cleared it all.
I feel you. I know that we definitely have a lot of misconceptions about us and what we do and what our agenda is and things like that, But if you're a fan of the podcast, you already know what it is. So those are only the people that I'm really talking to,
Well, like that's the thing too, like you can't let that somebody's perception of you is always going to be somebody's perception, like their own thing. That's their problem.
Yeah.
Like for me, the way I carry myself is like I don't really care about people's opinions, because I hate using the term opinions like assholes. Like I hate that shit.
Yeah.
But like somebody's perception of you is how they understand you, and like when you understand how people are, like then you that digests a little bit better with you.
Yeah.
Like you can't change how somebody sees you. You can just continue to do the thing that you do that you think is good, and if they don't see it, then they don't see it. You know what I mean? And until like if 90% of the world is telling you that you're a good person, and then there's 10% that's like, oh no, Frank's an asshole because Frank didn't want to refund me this bolt when I was in need, or refund me my money whenever I needed this or whatever. Yeah. Like, all right, that's cool. That's how that person's gonna see you, and that's tarnishing, and that sucks. But that's their problem. That's not your problem. You know what I mean? Like, so
too, it also does take some self-evaluating, and that's what I had to do a lot. Maybe the message I was putting off was coming off in a certain way where it can be interpreted as being negative or having ulterior motives or what have you. So then me as being like a business person, I need to be able to attack any opportunity that I have, and okay, maybe the way that I'm doing things is not the right way, or I could do certain tweaks here and there. And since I've done it, and I've noticed that with the podcast, dude, the respect that we get and the way that we're interpreted is way more on the positive than any negative than it's been in the past. But I've made a conscious decision to make those type of change and to understand that, maybe the way that I was doing things could have been interpreted this way, even though that wasn't my intention. But let me see if there's another way that I can do it, because my idea at the end of the day is to get more people in our tribe as possible.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even like, so if you carry yourself in a way of like, oh, fuck this, or like whatever, like that's one thing. And if you understand that that's how you carry yourself, like, oh, I'm saying fuck it too much, or like, or I am, being too negative about this, or I'm putting too much light in this area that I shouldn't have, and therefore, like, people, you understand it, and then you draw back from that. Yeah, that's progress. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's progress. That's what progression is. Like, so with us, there's plenty of conversations between me and Miz. Like, again, this is two different minds that are approaching the same goal, and there's things that happen on the backseat that people will never ever like know that happens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's my homie, and we like have a goal. We work towards it and whenever we can, and we make time for it, and so we try to make it as good as we can, and as positive as we can.
Yeah.
Like, again, we try not to do anything that's super negative, like, nothing that would make us seem like we're assholes, or or like that we're trying to like put light in something that shouldn't get any light. You know what I mean? So, back to what you were saying with, if we have any misconceptions or whatever, I don't think we put anything out there that should make it seem what it's not,
Yeah. I feel you, dude. Now, anytime on the podcast when we gear a little more towards the negative than I like to switch it around and give somebody some kind of praise that maybe they don't get, or maybe there's misconceptions about them, but you personally know them and you know that they're a good person, somebody that's working hard. So is there anybody that would come to mind?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's plenty of people that are around us, that are probably like not understood fully.
Yeah.
Like Jamie being one of them. And it's not even a bad. There's not really to say that anybody has anything bad about Jamie. But there's been just like this thing of like people thinking that well, I don't know if that is the case or not, but like Jamie is into racing for reasons that other people aren't into racing.
Gotcha.
Like Jamie's into racing because Jamie loves racing. Like, and he's not doing it for sponsorships. Like, dude, Aki had to literally beg him to accept sponsorships. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were like, "Yo, we'll sponsor the car," and he's like, "No."
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing this on my own time. You know what I'm saying? And it's a weird flex, but like, you know, it's one of those things where he is. I've known him for probably 9 or 10 years now.
Oh wow.
And how we got to know each other is funny as shit. Like, one of my friends, she was like, "Oh, you know, I was hanging out with these Nissan kids, this and that, whatever." And at the time, I think my EP3 was boosted. She had a boosted Del Sol, and so me and her used to roll around a lot. And like, she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm hanging out with the Nissan kids, and that, whatever." So she hosted like a Monday night meet or whatever, and Jamie showed up with a couple of his homies, and like, you know, so we all just linked up and started kicking it from then. And prior to that, actually, I heard his name because he raced this other kid that was local to us, and the kid that was local to us, he had like a 700 horsepower Civic or something like that, and he was like unbeatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you're like, "Oh, this cat's like, you know, we had some dude with a Nissan's trying to race Kamar and like, you know, whatever." And I'm like, you know, I'm friends with the kid with the Honda, so I'm like, nah, it's easy, bro. Like, no Nissan's fucking with that car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sure enough, they went out for the race, and Jamie fucking took it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, where the fuck is this Sentra, dude?
Yeah.
Like, who the hell's got the Sentra? And like, so then when a girl introduced us, I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Like, get to talk to him or whatever. And you know, then of course, you know, we're both Jamaican.
Yeah.
You know, and so we connected on that level of stuff too. And like, he's like soft spoken and like this and that, and like you never really hear him raise his voice or anything like that. So he's not a hot-headed person or anything like that. I mean, I've seen him mad, but but like him coming into like in even getting into Hondas.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Spoon 860?
Yeah.
Josue? Oh, so I know Josue even before that. Like,
really?
I met Josue. Yeah, I met Josue in like 2007.
He's a cool guy, dude. I like him.
Yeah, when I met him, he was like 16, dude.
No way.
And like, he used to like, I think he was like still in tech school or something like that. And there's a local guy that was like an OG that was like, you know, he was helping me out with my car a lot. I had an Integra, like a DA Integra, and Josue used to stop by because he like lived right down the street or whatever. And so, you know, he was like one of the little homies that used to come around, you know. And eventually, like, we just started kicking it. You know, he painted it. Yeah, he started doing a little project build. He had like a B17 that he built for his hatchback, and like that little hatchback was like raping people. Like, he was beating K cars. He was beating all sorts of shit, dude. And like, back then, like, that was super, super impressive. And so me and Josue I've stayed friends for, you know, the entire time. We're obviously still friends now. And so, you know, we all met up with Jamie, and so like Jamie and them, you know, him and Jamie became really good friends and stuff. And so Jamie was still on his Nissan tip, and Josue had like a K24 hatchback, and Jamie had like this. This is when around the time too I was trying to build my all motor sub for my AP3, and I wasn't inspired yet, but Jamie had like this 12.5 to 1 SR that was making like 275 at the wheels or something like that or something. And I remember us just like driving, me and him going for a ride, and he took me down like this road, and it's like a pretty good grade hill, like going like a downhill, and we're on like Advan 8008s or something like that, so a pretty sticky tire. And third gear, the thing's fucking blowing the tires off, going downhill, and I'm like, yo, this is fucking insane. Like how like this thing is fast as shit. I'm like, I'm definitely building a motor car now. So then he met up with one night. Him and Josue were fucking around, and they ran it. And Josue just had like Jamie wasn't into Hondas then because he would tune them. So like he tuned my EP3, he tuned Josue's car, and he was just tuning a little bit. Like back then, like he had like a little roll around dyno, like it was like a mobile dyno essentially. Yeah. And like he would tune all the local Nissan guys. And anybody that wanted to drive down, they just knew who he was. That's where the Marsh tuning thing started.
Yeah.
And so he would be tuning like local Nissan guys, and then us, like me, Josue, and a bunch of little other people were the Honda guys that he would fuck with, and those are the cars that he would tune. And so he tuned Josue's car, which was like a stock TSX motor, you know what I'm saying, with a 6-speed, and he raced Jamie's like Nissan, and fucking he beat him. He beat Jamie's Nissan, and I was like, oh man, whatever, like this is kind of wild,
Yeah.
And I think that was like the thing that sparked Jamie to be like, yo, I'm building a Honda.
Hell.
and so what's even crazier is like the first shell that he got was an EK. I think it was like 2013 or something like that. Or 2012 going into 2013. He got this EK shell, and when he got it, I was like thinking I saw it, and I'm like, man, this shell looks so familiar. Like, where'd you get it from? And he told me what he got it from, and I'm like, bro, I know this fucking car.
Yeah.
Like it belonged to one of my homies that had built it before. The car got stolen. He recovered it somehow magically with all the parts, and the guy was like started parting the car up, but the cops got to him before he could finish. And like I think they got all the parts back for the car, and he rebuilt it. And then the kid was like, fuck this shit, and he ended up parting ways with the car anyways. So I think they parted it out and just had the shell at the shop. And so Jamie ended up picking the shell up, just like a clean canvas, like start from scratch, whatever. And he didn't want to do anything else with it. He just wanted like what Josue kind of had, like a K24 in the car, whatever. And Jamie's a big nitrous guy. If people didn't know, like he loves nitrous. So he put a 100 shot on it. And the car was super fucking clean. It's not it wasn't a Type R white. It wasn't like it wasn't championship white. It was like a different white. But he had like the Recaros in it, just the 2 Recaros and a dashboard and a nitrous bottle. You know what I mean? Like, and the car, he took the car out. The car went like a 12.0 on motor, and then he went like 11.0 on the hit. And then, being around all of us, that's when people like started really getting into like building Hondas. And so my buddy Kyle, his Instagram is KJ Built. He's like a bad influence to be around too, because that motherfucker builds like the best fucking K series is like around. Fun fact: the first '99 stock crank that went 9s came from Connecticut. That was a car that KJ put together. And that's the first in the world that went 9s. Like the car went a 989 at like 138 or something like that.
Wow.
Back in like 2013. Before that, the cars that were going 9 were like 106 crank cars. So like all the shop cars, like the drive shaft shop car and like stuff like that. So, and then after that, like people started going 9s as well. And you see how people have the whole nitro debate now, all this stuff. Like people talk about nitro fuel. Dude, that shit has been in the runnings forever, bro. Like it's not nothing new.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't something that Jamie didn't invent it. You know what I'm saying? Like people had this thing like, oh, Jamie just was the one that was just like, all right, I'm not hiding anything. Like I'm not gonna be hiding anything from you guys. So like this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going as fast as I'm going. You know what I mean? But people before were like, but they give it this whole thing like, but he's nitro, so it doesn't count. It's like, bro, everybody else that went fucking nines before were on nitro too, dude. Like, you're just not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, back then, I think when Jamie built his first all motor setup, it was like a 13-701, like, and it was a single lobe Cartel 4.5s, on some like 64 millimeter ITBs or something like that. And the car just had the 10-0 curse. Like, it could never go faster than 10-0. That car went 10-0 on the button like every fucking time, would not go nines. And I remember, I think we were at an IFO in like 2014 or 2015 maybe. And the car was just, it was ready to go. You could tell. And like, our buddy Adam had just raced. He had went up for a pass before, and he lost his motor, like windowed the shit, like fucking. And so Jamie saw that, and he's like, yo, I remember specifically, he was like, oh, I ain't going out like that. So he changed his oil, you know what I'm saying? Like, did a fresh oil change on it before the new pass. So the new pass, the car had brand new oil in it, whatever. But the thing that was happening was, the time was going on and the temperature was changing. And when you're dealing with nitro, like, the DA is everything.
Yeah.
You know, back then when you tune in with nitro, like, the DA was everything. Now, because you were on like K, I think he was on, I think he might have been on K Pro back then. Mm-hmm. So K Pro doesn't recognize stuff like the change of the DA or nothing like that. So he goes up, and the car was, for some reason, he did the burnout, and the car was doing these big ass flames, dude, like crazy big flames. And I'm like, man, this thing looked like it's about to put out a heater, you know, because it's getting a little chillier and like whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, so he goes down, and like every gear he changed, like the biggest, like, I'm standing behind the car because I'm at the start line with the car. And like every time he shifts, you just see a flame come over the roof of the car because it's a hood exit. And I'm like, yo, this thing's fucking on a pass. And then like all of a sudden, like at the end, it goes 10. I think it went 10-0 again, but then there's like a little white puff of smoke, and I'm like, all right, you know, I'm not thinking too much of it. And then like the guy at the, like, we started walking away, like we didn't see him coming down the return road. Uh-huh. And then the staff guy comes up, and he's like, hey, was that your buddy in the white Honda? Like, he needs a tow. And I'm like, like, that's motor. Yeah, so he grenaded that thing, dude. So, like, sent it to the sky.
So Jamie's the fucking man.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, if you know, like, I don't know, I would love to see him on your podcast, because that kid could tell you like some fucking stories, dude. Like, he's one of those people that you should probably Skype, like, try to do this Skype shit with, because he is definitely like when I say like there's not a better like human being like in racing, I can't tell you like a better person. Like, he is just, and he doesn't give a shit like about who's going fast. Yeah. He's not trying to be the first one to go fast. He just wants to go fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, whether it's him doing it or the homies doing it, like, I don't know if you realize, but like, so the first car that went 8s was Sonic's car, right? And Sonic is, you know, basically built a car that was inspired by like what Jamie was doing. You know what I mean? And, and it was just like one of those things where Jamie was like, yo, I think this car can go 8s. You know, like, Jamie's car could do it, but he was like, nah, I think it would be better if like this car does it first. And like, so he literally put his shit on the back burner and like was just like, all right, fuck it, like focus on this one.
That's dope, you know? Man. I love it, dude. He sounds like a great guy. I've met him a few times. Seems awesome, dude. And I would love to have a conversation with him. And it's good for people to hear things like that, man. That's why I like to have people give flowers before anything, you know?
Absolutely.
Because that's what's hard, dude. It's hard to put in all this work, and it feels good to get some sort of recognition for it. So a big shout out to Jamie and what he's doing for the community in a whole. You know,
I mean, like, I think we had gotten into like a little conversation about like race. Oh yeah, it was on your live, like the night we were doing your live.
Yeah.
And you know, we were saying like what the car scene was like. Connecticut is fast, like has fast cars, bro. Like it's a weird thing. I don't know why it's a thing, but like it's just a thing. Like there's just so many cars that are just super fast from Connecticut. Like I think at one point, like it was like 6 cars from here that was in the all motor class, which isn't that big anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, and to an event that's like, like more so like HDAY realistically is like an East Coast thing, because but like people obviously come from the West Coast for it, but like it's not like a thing where everybody comes to, like World Cup.
Yeah.
Like World Cup, everybody definitely goes there, but HDAY is kind of like if it's in the cards, they'll make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to have so many cars from our little state show up there and go, it shows you like how dedicated like this race community is here.
Yeah.
And most of us get along, like there's probably not there's not a car that's considered fast that, let's say, like KJ or Jamie didn't touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like one of them had to do something on the car if it's going fast. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's both. Like, and KJ is another person too that's like, one of those people that I look up to, and he does incredible work. Super good dude. He builds like some of the most badass motors, like, and everybody likes to big up their engine builders, but for him, for sure, like he definitely like, well, he's one of those guys where like when he does something, you don't second guess it. Like, if something goes wrong with the motor he puts together, a part failed. You know what I mean? It's not that he put together the wrong way or whatever. It's a part that failed. And there's so many times like, he's looked out for me personally, like whether we're talking with cars or in personal lives, you know what I mean? Like just a super, super, super good dude that, I think is one of those people that should get recognition that, might not be as recognized as he is.
What's his Instagram?
KJ Built.
KJ Built. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check him out, man. Dude, it's dope to hear about everything going out in Connecticut, and it's dope that you guys are being able to document that and share it with everybody.
Yeah. We're like I said, we're constantly trying. I mean, hopefully, like this thing isn't as permanent as it's looking right now. So we can actually like go out and get some more content, and so we can share it with people. But it's definitely one of those things like where it's not. This isn't gonna stop like how we're doing our media either. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if it's gonna take for us to like start like doing a docu build on the EK that we have outside, like we have to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like something has to get done.
You got to keep on keeping on, like Joe Dirt, bro.
For sure.
Hey, for sure, Trey. So before we get out of here, man, where can people find you guys at?
So our Instagram is I shoot you. Just all one word. My personal Instagram is TCS_token. And then Merzet's personal is Miz860, MIZ860.
Dope. Let's have Miz jump in for a sec before we get out of here.
Yeah. And hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
Yo, what up, man?
Yo, Miz, what's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Been working on the hatch.
Good, dude. I hear, man. I'm excited to hear about it. So before we get out of here, I just wanted to have you come in since you're the other half of Who Shot You, and maybe give your insight on what you guys have, your ideas for the brand and where you want to see it go, and just quick, let us know who you are.
Sure. I mean, really, we just want to just create content. I mean, it's always been about just creating content for us, not for others, just doing what we love. And that's kind of how it started, and how, I think it should progress naturally.
Yeah.
We want to expand into partnering with other companies. We've been doing that a little here and there. We want to continue doing that. And, just bring our own spin on media and content, and just the car scene, just our perspective of how things are. I think I heard Dre talking about it earlier, how congested Connecticut is with fast cars and just the car scene in general. And, we're 2 hours from Boston, 2 hours from New York. So we're in a good place, as far as cars go and around people. So it allows us to travel and meet a lot of guys, hang out with a lot of people and just kind of, do that stuff too. So I think we have an interesting perspective on that stuff. And that's really it, man. It's just have fun and just, try different things. One thing I always tell Dre is don't be afraid of trying other things. Don't sit there and look at what other people are doing. Just try to do whatever you want to do, and whatever you think is dope, just do it. And if it's dope, it's dope. If it's not, do something else. Fail fast, fail often, and keep going. Right.
I love it, man. And you definitely have an interesting perspective on a lot of stuff. I know I listened to a couple episodes of your podcast. Is that still going on?
No, man. So my friend and I were doing it, and we both just got very, very busy.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like it was a big thing to undertake. We kind of just were literally drinking one day, and we're like, "Yo, let's do a podcast." Next week, we're mics and everything, and it's a lot, man. So honestly, I didn't think once a week was going to be as challenging as it is. Yeah. For you to do it twice a week, man, I don't know. How to do that much time. Like,
it's super hard, man.
You're very efficient, and I respect that a lot.
Thank you, bro. I try, dude. It's hard, man. I don't even know how I do it, but it's fun, when something's fun, when you enjoy doing it, it doesn't really seem like that much of a task to you. Like right now, it's not just a task to do this. It's fun to me to have these conversations with you guys and go home and edit it and put it out and then see people, they're entertained by it and then they have feedback. I love it. That's the reason that I do it, and that if anything else comes besides that, it's just a bonus. This is, I feel like this is always something that I was supposed to do. And it started off from just doing lives online and then transitioned into Huffy Talk. And then that turned into a show. And then that turned into this. And then this is just something that I've always wanted to do. And we'll see where it goes from here, man. But it's dope to be able to just sit down and see what people like you guys are doing and what your goals are. And then, follow up in like a few months or something and see where you guys have progressed from it. It's awesome, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, your podcast is probably my top 5 podcasts that I
Dude, thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And, I really just started I think actually your podcast is the reason I got into podcasting, like listening to podcasts.
No way.
I don't remember what the first one I listened to was, but I listened to it and I just was like, this is kind of dope. And then I just just started exploring into shit.
Fuck yeah.
But yours is definitely top 5 for sure.
Hey, Miss, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Dude, thank you for jumping on and giving us your quick synopsis of the brand. And
definitely.
Just let us know before you get out of here where people can follow you at.
Yeah, definitely, man. Follow Dre and I both at I Shoot You on Instagram, I Shoot YOU. My personal Instagram is Miz860, MIZ860. And Dre's is TCS_token.
Dope.
So follow him as well.
Let's get Dre back in the picture, man, definitely. So we can get both of you in here.
All right, definitely.
Boom. Both got 4 piston on or what?
Yeah, he got the hoodie on. I got the shirt on.
Hey, big shout out to both of you guys, man. Shout out to 4 piston, dude. And just thank you for all your support, Dre. Really, I want to tell you, man, thank you for all your support. Thank you for listening to the podcast and understanding that what we're trying to do with it. And any feedback you always give me, man, is greatly appreciated.
100%. Like, dude, I like saved it in my phone and everything. So like whenever like I'm listening to it and like I have a note or like something that pops up, like I'm just like, oh shit, let me just like,
hell yeah, anytime, bro. Anytime, man. But thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Everybody listening, make sure you check them out at I Shoot You. And thank you guys for listening to the podcast, man. And big thank you to our sponsor, Heel Toe Automotive. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Heel Toe, but they're parts realtor. What the hell am I even trying to say, bro? Retailer. And Marcus has been around since 2002. Great company, man. OG in the community, and I really appreciate them just showing us love and supporting what we're doing. So make sure you guys check them out at Heel Toe Automotive or heeltoeauto.com. And Dre, thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. So guys,
real quick too.
Yeah.
The when you say I'll just going through my phone literally, and like the company that I'm associated with, TCS, which is Taylor Chassis Solutions.
Yeah.
We have a Honda Fit that we used to do endurance racing with, and Marcus actually sponsored that car.
No way.
So that's how I'm familiar with Heel Toe.
Hell yeah.
And I was just going through just a little fucking video I made on my phone of it, and one of the slides, I was just sliding past the sponsors and stuff like that, and I just vividly remember seeing the Heel Toe, as one of the things. So,
great guy, man. Great guy for the community, always supporting the community. Heel Toe Automotive on Instagram, heeltoeauto.com, and man, thank you for your time. Everybody, thank you for your support. This is Downtime with Downstar, episode 157, and we out. Peace.